Good afternoon and welcome to a CNN Philippines special presentation, the second Senatorial Forum. I'm Ruth Cabal. In an hour, we will be hosting the second Senatorial Forum live at the Ateneo de Manila University's Yunde Hall in Quezon City so we can get to know some of our senatorial bets in the upcoming midterm elections. Our very own chief anchor and correspondent Pia Ontiveros and senior anchor and correspondent Pinky Webb will be moderating this forum. Last December, we held the first forum at the University Theater in UP Diliman, where 8 candidates participated. Let's go straight to our Joyce Ilas, who's standing by at Ateneo in Quezon City. Joyce, can you tell us what the viewers can expect this afternoon?
Ruth, the stage is set here at the Ateneo de Manila University for CNN Philippines' second Senatorial Forum for the 2019 midterm elections. Today, we get to know 7 of our senatorial candidates as they answer questions on some of the most pressing issues in our country today. Now, joining us in the forum today are former Interior Secretary Rafi Alunan, former Bayan Muna Party List Representative Nery Colmenares, former Bangsamoro Transition Committee member Samira Gutok, former Solicitor General Florin Hilbay, former presidential spokesman Harry Roque, former Senator Ma Rojas, and former Quezon Representative Erin Tañada. Among the issues that will be discussed in today's forum are the minimum age of criminal responsibility, the war on drugs, inflation, Philippine-China relations, and the martial law in Mindanao. We will have a live fact-checking team from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, to verify if what the candidates are saying are truthful. Now, you can watch the forum live on TV starting at 5 in the afternoon today. We will also be live streaming the Senatorial Forum on CNN Philippines Facebook account and on our website www.cnnphilippines.com starting at 4:45 in the afternoon. Now, if you have anything you want to ask from our senatorial candidates, you may join the conversation by leaving questions or comments on our Facebook page. That's CNN Philippines, or just leave your questions on our Twitter account at CNN Philippines, or you may use the hashtag #TheFilipinoVotes. Ruth?
Joyce, a while ago we were looking at live pictures from there. Now, I see a line of people going inside the venue. So, sino pa yung ibang nandyan sa audience na nakita mo na?
That's right, Ruth. Supporters of our senatorial candidates have started to arrive here at the Arete at the Ateneo. Now, we also expect students, current and former government officials, and also members of non-government organizations to join us in the forum today. Ruth?
And of course, we here at CNN Philippines prepared questions for the candidates, but I think we also tried to get questions from other people, no? How did that go? Saan pa yung ibang sources ng ating questions?
That's right, Ruth. We prepared questions for CNN Philippines prepared questions for our senatorial candidates, but we will also be getting questions from our live audience and from those watching us online. So again, if you have any question you want to ask our senatorial candidates, you may leave your questions or comments on our Facebook page, CNN Philippines, or tweet us at CNN Philippines, or also use the hashtag #TheFilipinoVotes. Ruth?
Okay, Joyce Ilas there reporting from the Ateneo in Katipunan, Quezon City. Don't miss the CNN Philippines special presentation live at the Ateneo de Manila University's Yunde Hall in Quezon City at 5 this afternoon. We will be live streaming this on cnnphilippines.com as well as on Facebook. And it's been more than 3 months before the midterm elections, but we believe it's never too early to start to get to know our senatorial candidates. Joining me here in the studio are Pulse Asia Research Director Ana Tabunda and University of Santo Tomas Political Science Department Chair Dennis Coronacion. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us here. Okay, so let's talk about each of the candidates in alphabetical order, okay? We begin first with the first 2 candidates, starting with Rafael Alunan. Alunan served as Tourism Secretary during the late President Cory Aquino's administration and Interior Secretary during former President Fidel Ramos's administration. It's been 2 decades since he held a government post, and we know na since during the 2016 elections, si Alunan also ran as an independent candidate, but he lost. Ano kaya yung particular factor? Kasi he hasn't been seen in public for a long time.
Yeah, it's a major factor kasi I think it's more than 20 years since he was seen on public eye. So it's going to be, it's going to be an uphill climb for him, especially that in terms of name recall among the youth, hindi siya masyadong kilala. So I think he has to resolve that issue.
But in the surveys ba, how's he been faring?
Well, he's not doing very well because we have only 15 senatorial candidates with a statistical chance of making it. But that I think he's in the second page of our survey results. That would mean he's doing worse than 25. So I do not recall exactly what his rank is. He will really need to improve awareness of him, and I think this is a favor. This forum is a favor to these many other candidates who are not as well known as our re-electionists, our re-election senators, our comebacking senators, or those with associated with
Political
families,
yeah.
or those who are former cabinet secretaries. So it's good that there are forums such as these to help our people get to know the candidates, especially those who are not as well known, to help them get to know these candidates better.
Siguro rin yung, let's talk about some of yung possible strengths and weaknesses ni Alunan, no? Kasi he's been very vocal lately about yung issue ng West Philippine Sea. He's saying, yung syempre sinasabi niya na he's questioning the claim of China, but at the same time, he favors naman yung stand ni President Duterte na yung being close to China and then yung joint exploration. And now we're looking at yung, advocacy niya West Philippine Sea, anti-red tape, and the youth. So kahit papalo, he's been very vocal lately. West Philippine Sea, how do you see that issue faring for candidates? How important is it for candidates?
Actually, if you ask our people their top 3 urgent national concerns, the defense of the territorial integrity of the country gets only something like 5%, saying it's in the top 3 urgent national concerns. It's because there are issues that are closer, that are really affecting the lives of our countrymen more. And that would be inflation, pay of workers, jobs.
Yeah. And we'll be talking more about that mamaya, yung mga issues naman talaga na gustong itakal ng mga voters when it comes to yung pag-cast ng kanilang ballot in May. No? Now let's go to the second senatorial candidate who will be joining us in the forum, former Bayan Muna Party List Representative Nery Colmenares. Colmenares is the National Union of People's Lawyers Chairman, a pro bono lawyer for farmers, workers, and the urban poor. Tingin niyo makakatulong ba kay Nery Colmenares na he's very vocal against a critic of the administration?
Well, si former Congressman Colmenares has been known as a progressive congressman or leader. Of course, he has already, articulated his position on various issues. And I guess malaking tulong naman na, since he has been very clear about his position. Most of them are against the policies of President Duterte. So it would do good if he's going to be elected. It would be, it would do the Senate good. Kasi in the sense na there's going to be a balance between pro-admin and anti-admin senators.
Pero ano yung sa mga survey ba pag yung mga party list representatives, kasi 'di ba we had also in the past who ran but lost, may yung chances of winning ng mga party list representatives, ganun ba sila kakilala?
Not initially, but they can get to be known. We have Risa Ontiveros, who did make it after 3 tries. She was a party list representative. She was initially identified with the left, although the left, I think she's more moderate than left. But she's the only one so far. But I think the others before her were quite well known. Satura Campo, for example. And I think even Teddy Cosino at some point got to be known better. Of course, not to the extent that our re-electionists and our incumbent senators and former senators are known, or our movie stars are known, not to that extent. But considering that they are from the left, their awareness of them does increase, except that it doesn't necessarily translate to
votes.
Yes.
Si Colmenares naman is, we know that he's known for fighting against yung mga issues, main issues like the Makabayan Bloc led the filing of a petition before the Supreme Court against the tax reform law, yung train law, and then also they were very vocal against yung imposition of the martial law in Mindanao when it was extended for a third time. So those are some of the advocacies of former Representative Colmenares. We also know that he's against federalism and charter change, saying that this could this could open up repressive powers, as well as yung calls nila naman sa West Philippine Sea. They are against yung joint exploration with China, as well as what they're calling for is to fortify the troops in the West Philippine Sea. Yun ang sinusulong nga nitong Makabayan Bloc as well as the Colmenares. And he's saying that the Philippines should defend its territory and exclusive economic zone and fortify our positions in the area to counter China's aggressive attacks. Pero yung in terms of yung train and inflation, very vocal ang Makabayan Bloc sa pagsusulong ng kanilang kaso. And until now, he's been saying statements against yung pag-expand pa ng train law into the other tranches, into the imposition of additional taxes. And related to that, Senator Grace Poe, like you mentioned kanina doon sa ating mga surveys, Senator Grace Poe still leads the latest Pulse Asia Senatorial survey for the midterm polls. On the survey conducted from December 14 to 21, Senator Cynthia Villar ranked second. Tied on third and fourth place are Senator Sunny Angara and Pia Cayetano. Those in the fifth to seventh place are Lito Lapid and Senators Nancy Binay and Coco Pimentel. Completing the list of probable winners are Serge Osmeña, Bong Revilla, Ilocos Norte Governor Amy Marcos, former Senators Jinggoy Estrada and Mar Rojas, former Bureau of Corrections Chief Ronald Bato de la Rosa, and Senators J.V. Ejercito and Bam Aquino. Ana, can you tell us about the result of this survey? No? Ang nakikita ko dyan, ang bagong pangalan lang, Amy Marcos and Bato de la Rosa, but most are comebacking or re-electionists.
Well, yes, because our political parties are weak. It's really the family names, it's the brand that the people are using to assess a candidate, what he stands for, what she stands for, because the political parties are weak. So the family name is the brand. So, Governor Marcos, of course, comes from a political family. So the phenomenon here, in a sense, is Bato de la Rosa. If ever there will be a de la Rosa dynasty, he will be the one
Yung
to
una,
start it.
yeah.
Yes, yes. It's very unusual for someone who is not in entertainment to just break into the top 12. We had him in a higher position in our March survey, I think, the first time we ran it. And he was right there, up in the top 12.
Pag ganyan ba yung translation niya into actual votes, is it somewhat accurate? Or yung, how do you know pag malapit na, yung pag medyo yun na yung result?
Malayo pa tayo, January. Kasi hindi pa nga sila nagsistart mangampanya. Pag nangampanya na sila, nagbatuhan na ng mudslinging na, mag-iiba yan Mag-iiba yan. So, ang dapat talaga, hanggat kaya, medyo mahal, mag-survey ng as close to the election period as possible if you want something that will be indicative of what will come out
in the actual elections.
Yes.
Okay, we will continue this conversation after a short break. We are discussing the qualifications and backgrounds of each of our senatorial candidates who are participating in the CNN Philippines Second Senatorial Forum. This forum happens at the Yunde Hall today at the Ateneo de Manila University in Quezon City, and we have 7 senatorial beds participating. Don't miss it. You're watching CNN Philippines. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Ruth Cabal. This is a CNN Philippines special presentation as we count down to our second senatorial forum happening at 5 p.m. at the Ateneo de Manila University's Yunde Hall in Quezon City. We first go to our top stories today. An update now on the twin explosions in Jolo, Sulu. Reports from the ground put the death toll now at 27. 20 of them are civilians. That's according to the PNP ARMM. Those wounded now stands at 77. 61 of them are civilians. Speaking to CNN Philippines earlier, AFP's Western Mindanao Command spokesperson, Lieutenant Colonel Jerry Besana, said the twin blasts happened past 8 this morning while Mass was ongoing at the Our Lady of Mount Carmel Cathedral. The first explosive went off right inside the cathedral, while the second blast at the cathedral's parking area. The wounded are now being treated at different hospitals in Jolo and in Zamboanga City.
Sa ngayon po, ang marami pong nadala natin, siyempre mga sundalo rin natin nang nagresponde ay dinala sila sa Kutsa Bautista Station Hospital natin sa Sulu. Diyan po yung ating Joint Task Force Sulu nakabase. At meron na rin po sa ngayon 2 civilian, yung mga critically wounded na na-evacuate na rin dito po sa Zamboanga City at kasalukuyan pong ine-evaluate kung kailangan silang dalhin sa medical hospital dito sa Zamboanga City. Yun nga po, naka-alerto lahat yung ating mga tropa at the same time asset po ng armed forces para tulungan po at tutukan. Ito pong mga kalagayan ngayon ng mga biktima. Tuloy-tuloy nga po, papanik-balik yung ating chopper, naka-standby na yung iba sa Sulu para po talaga pick-upin yung mga kailangang ma-evacuate ng mga biktima ng naganap na terorismo na ito.
The cathedral has been subject of attacks in previous years, including a grenade blast in 2010. Today's incident is the bloodiest so far. The twin explosions happened a few days after the ratification of the Bangsamoro Organic Law. Meanwhile, Malacanang assures the public authorities will bring the perpetrators to justice and put them behind bars. Water sources of at least 3 establishments along the Manila Bay were cut off as government kicks off the bay's rehabilitation. The Laguna Lake Development Authority has issued cease and desist orders against the Aristocrat Restaurant along Rojas Boulevard in Manila, Gloria Mari Shark's Fin Restaurant within the CCP complex, and San Miguel by the Bay at the Esplanade. The facilities are allegedly discharging wastewater directly to the bay, violating environmental laws. LLDA General Manager Jaime Medina says establishments may lose their mayor's permit and environmental compliance certificate if they fail to correct their violations. Meanwhile, the armed forces joined government agencies in cleaning up the Manila Bay. The AFP says about 700 soldiers, airmen, sailors, and Marines, led by AFP Chief General Benjamin Madrigal Jr., participated in the rehabilitation. The AFP says this is part of its commitment to help protect the environment and asks everyone's support for the project. The Commission on Elections has released the list of senatorial candidates for this year's midterm polls. From 152, the number is down to 76. This is the most number of candidates since the 1992 elections. 14 of them are current and former senators, including Bong Revilla and Sergio Osmeña. The COMELEC, however, says 30 names might be removed from the list pending finality. You're watching a CNN Philippines special presentation for the upcoming midterm polls. Our third candidate who will join the Senatorial Forum at 5 p.m. in Ateneo is Samira Gutok from the Liberal Party. She used to be a member of the ARMM Regional Legislative Assembly and the expanded Bangsamoro Transition Committee. At the height of the Marawi crisis, Gutok became Ranao Rescue Team organizer. Si Samira Gutok, I remember her kasi she resigned as a member of the Bangsamoro Transition Committee when President Duterte made rape remarks about yung mga soldiers in Mindanao and also yung martial law declaration in Mindanao. So yung chances ba of her winning, Dennis?
Well, she's well known in the ARMM region. So but ang problema niyan is that hindi natin siya masyado naririnig sa the national level. So she's a first-timer, and I think the voters have rarely heard her name, except of course in some issues pertaining to Mindanao and Marawi. Now, it would be a good thing sana if she's going to win because she would be representing the interests of the Bangsamoro region. The last time that we had I remember that the last time we had a Muslim senator was, I think it was Senator Santanina Rasul. And ilang dekada na yon. So it would be nice if she would win a seat. Now the problem is that kukonti lang ang boto sa Mindanao and name recall. So she has the same problems as any other first-timer candidates.
Ano yung in terms of yun na nga, yung name recall, yung popularity, how is that for someone like a candidate like Samira?
Well, it's going to be difficult, especially since, well, when we first ran her name, we had her as Tumawis.
Yeah.
And then she filed for change of name. And so we, well, there was a low awareness of her as Tumawis. I don't know whether shifting to Gotok will get her more votes but it's a difficult climb for her. And especially since ARM is a small region. And it's an impoverished region, but it would really be nice if somehow she can be voted in, because she's representing really minorities. They're Muslims and they're women.
Yeah.
And they really need that kind of representation.
Yun nga, she's known for her advocacies to promote women's rights and peace in Mindanao. And we just had her as guest din last week lang. And she's a very, yung sinusulong niya talaga yung creation of a Bangsamoro autonomous region. So isa siya talaga na, syempre, she supports, in that part, she's a candidate of the Liberal Party, but in that part, she supports yung sinusulong ng administration na BARM. So kaya nga lang, yung last government position niya, she was just there for barely 3 months nga before she resigned because of yung controversial statements of President Duterte. Okay, so we move on to our fourth candidate. We have Florin Hilbay, who last served as Solicitor General. He is among the members of the Philippine delegation who defended the country's territory in the West Philippine Sea before the United Nations Arbitral Tribunal. You will remember that the tribunal ruled in favor of the Philippines in a case against China's claims to virtually all of the South China Sea. So si Florin Hilbay is with Aksyon Demokratiko, but they're allied also with the Liberal Party. So we're talking about two candidates na with the opposition. Kamusta ba ang chances nila if you're with the opposition? Very vocal din itong si Hilbay na critic ni President Duterte.
Yes, and so far I think he's not doing well in the surveys. He's not doing well, and I think that can be attributed to his advocacy, which is the West Philippine Sea, among others. Ang problema kasi sa West Philippine Sea, as noted by Ma'am Ana, is that it is not an election issue. It's not very popular. It's not a topic that voters would frequently talk about. But of course, Filipinos feel strongly about the West Philippine Sea. Basta issue ng national sovereignty, territorial integrity. Filipinos are very emotional about it, to the point that mahirap makipag-argue sa kanila.
Pero yung faring ngayon ng mga opposition candidates, Liberal Party candidates, sa survey?
How are they faring? Many of them are not faring well, but I think it's still important that the opposition fields really good candidates so that the issues confronting our country can be aired, can at least be aired. And I think for some of them, that is really the goal. Well, it would be nice if they would win, but I think they also want to bring to our people's attention certain issues. It's not that our people don't care about West Philippine Sea. If you ask it by itself, they will say they're concerned about it, greatly concerned. But if you ask them to list other urgent concerns, it's not going to be among the top ranking, because as we often say, malayo sa bituka pa.
Oo. Pero
Malayo pa.
yung naging nakatulong din sa kanya, syempre, yung Solicitor General na he represented the Philippines din doon sa sa The Hague, 'di ba? When defended,
I think our people are not aware of. You see, you have 40+% of your people saying their urgent personal concern is to have at least to at least have enough to eat every day.
That's right.
They will not be able to monitor what our leaders are doing at the national level.
Policies,
Certainly not follow legalistic procedures or international court proceedings.
Medyo mataas masyado yun eh, no?
Para sa
Oo,
kanila.
yes,
If I may add, I think among the Liberal Party candidates, it's Mar Rojas who's doing well. O kasi na-realize niya na yun yung sinasabi ni Ma'am Ana na the major election issue is going to be the economy. And that's the focus of his campaign. While the others, like Bam Aquino and the other Liberal Party candidates, I think they have not yet appreciated the importance of this issue as an election issue. And this explains why they are not doing well or faring well in the surveys.
Okay, so let's move on to our next senatorial candidate from the People's Reform Party, si Harry Roque. He served as Kabayan party list representative before he was appointed as presidential spokesperson under the Duterte administration. Ayan, medyo naging controversial si Roque dahil nga from presidential spokesperson. Sabi medyo, ba't daw biglang nang iba yung mga stand niya on certain issues, like when he was congressman, he filed the anti-dynasty bill, and then when he was the spokesperson for President Duterte, biglang he changed his tune na yung sinasabi na ni President Duterte na the people can vote for whoever they want kung relative yan ng incumbent official. Also yung death penalty, he voted against it when he was congressman, and you know, when he was spokesperson, hindi na ganun yung kanyang tono. Paano bang tingin sa kanya ngayon? Will that help his candidacy na medyo yung kanyang stand on issues?
Well, itong mga Filipino voters naman, they don't assess the candidate so much based on their stand on the issues. They look more on the image or on the history of the candidate. So insofar as Attorney Harry Roque is concerned, ang image yata na na-create sa kanya is that he is the spokesperson of the president. And since he's not in office anymore, and he had a falling out with the president, so mahirap ipaliwanag kung nasaan siya. Hindi siya ma-endorse ni presidente, unlike General Bato and then Bongo, na I think
Valentino
yung popularity ni presidente nagra-rub off sa kanila. Unlike in the case of Attorney Harry Roque.
Yun nga last week lang he was at an event, at an event, nakasama niya si President Duterte, tapos he was just beside President Duterte, but the President did not endorse his name for the senatorial candidates of the administration. So, ano yung lakas ba ng President's endorsement? Paano ba yon? Well, sinabi niya that could rub off on the candidacies of the administration.
There has to be, to the people's minds, there has to be a connection between the endorser and the endorsee. So, to the people's minds, this connection between the president and Bato is very strong because of the Tokhang operations. And the connection between the president and Bongo is also strong, but being endorsed by the president does not necessarily bring everyone over to your side, obviously. There are still those who will want to know what can you do on your own. So I think some of our people are asking that of Bato and Bongo, but in Mindanao, the endorsement is powerful.
Matter, yes.
Powerful. So, a third candidate that the president has been mentioning in the sorties he goes to is Francis Tolentino. And as far as we can tell from the data, the people are not yet seeing the connection. For one, his awareness is low. It's only 69% in the January survey we ran, and this has dipped considering he was already number 13 in the COMELEC results for 2016. They have forgotten the former MMDA chairman, and obviously the president trusts him because he's been assigned to presidential advisor for this, for that.
The typhoons and
So I don't know if the people will eventually see the connection So it's really unfortunate that you would think that the spokesperson is the one who is the president's alter ego. But that has not transpired for Harry Roque.
Okay, so we still have two more candidates who will be joining the Senatorial Forum at the Ateneo in Quezon City at 5 this afternoon. We'll be back after a short break. Keep it here on CNN Philippines. I'm Ruth Cabal, and you're watching CNN Philippines. On May 13 this year, the country will hold its midterm elections. Let's get to know two more of our candidates who will be joining our Senatorial Forum at the Ateneo later. You just saw live pictures right there. Former Senator Mar Rojas was part of the 13th and 14th Congress. The last position he held in government was Interior Secretary under the former President Noynoy Aquino's administration. He is running under the Liberal Party. So, Ms. Ann, anong ranking ngayon ni Rojas? Kasi before, when he first ran for senator in 2004, he was number 1 eh. Oo, ngayon, kamusta yung faring niya?
Not at the outset, in 2004, he rose to number 1. Right now, he's number 13, but because we included the name of a certain Lemmy Rojas, who sounds like Lenny Robredo Mar Rojas in one go. They found, I mean, I don't know who, but they found a candidate who, he's a 77-year-old engineer whose name is such that you can give him the nickname Lemmy. He got 3.6 percentage point of the vote.
So nabawas na yun kay Mar.
Malamang, kasi I don't think this.
So we have to see if he's in the final list of the COMELEC candidates, no?
I think they are working that he be declared nuisance. But if you add this 3.6 percentage points to Mar's 35, Mar will get 38.6 and be just below Senator Serge Osmeña. He will be number 9.
Okay.
Number 9 instead of 13. That's the effect of having a namesake.
Pero hindi mo ba matatranslate yun? Kasi, di ba, when he ran for president, second siya kay President Duterte, he got 9.9 million votes versus the president 16.6 million. Yung popularity niya noon as a presidential candidate, hindi ba yun?
Different.
Okay.
It's different. Kasi pwedeng, meron tayong mga tao na ang tingin nila, pang presidente to. Iba naman, pang senador lang to. So, the performance in a presidential race is different from the performance in a senatorial race.
Kaya parang kahit ganun yung dami ng boto noon, that's totally different. Like,
It's
a different game.
It's a different game. That's a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
Either make it or you don't. Here, you have 12 chances to make it. There are 12 who can make it.
Dennis, yung isa kasi sa issues, well, several issues na binabato kay Mar as a candidate is yung parang yung supposed parang failure ba niya nung Yolanda, di ba, when he was the ILG secretary. And then he's also facing cases for the MRT maintenance contracts. May isip pa ba yun ng tao yan come this election?
Madaling makalimot ang mga voters natin. So, baka hindi agad maisip. Except, of course, siguro pag pumasok na yung campaign period, wherein, politicians, these candidates would throw, would do mudslinging against each other. So far, I think he's going to do good. Kasi ang kagandahan nito, itong presidential campaign niya before, he was talking to the audience or to the voters in the capacity as a presidential candidate. Whereas this time, he's talking to the voters as a senatorial candidate. And the good thing about this is that he's trying to sell an image na he's a good economist, something that the country badly needs today. And that is his cup of tea. Yun ang strength niya eh. So siguro may mga setbacks na kagaya ni sinabi ni Ma'am Ana, meron siyang almost yung kaparehong pangalan. Pero if he's going to
He
hurdle
sticks
this...
with yung economy.
Oh, he's
and
going to concentrate on that one. I think he's going to go up in the surveys.
Yung dati nakita natin, very memorable yung Mr. Palengke ads ni... Parang ganun ba ulit dapat ang maging atake niya, ang style niya?
Dapat nga ganun. Kasi na-miss na rin ng mga tao yun. Nag-evolve siya. Hindi, nakita natin na when he was given other positions, medyo nahirapan siya. Thus explains yung may scandals, controversies. So this time, ito siguro yung kanyang strength and he would be elected.
Okay, so we have another LP candidate who will be joining the forum later. Si Erin Tanyada. He comes from a family of politicians. He became Quezon Province 4th District Representative, and among his key legislations are the Act abolishing death penalty and Human Rights Victims Reparation Act of 2013. He's of course the son of former Senator Wigberto Tanyada. So will the Tanyada name help him, Ana?
It will help him to some extent, but the people have to be reminded of who not just Wigberto, of Lorenzo Tanyada and his role in the EDSA revolution.
So,
they will have to be
But
reminded.
having that name na, from a political family, diba? That will also, is that...
It will be helpful because it's not just a political family, it's a trusted political family.
Tapos, we're talking about yung candidates from the opposition, yung chances of winning ng mga Liberal Party candidates, yung endorsement from like Vice President Leni Robredo, former President Aquino, will that help?
Well, I don't think it's going to help. That's why most of these candidates are distancing themselves from former President Aquino and Leni Robredo. Sa ngayon, hindi pa natin nakikita na itong dalawang leader na to ay nag-endorse ng mga LP senatorial candidates. Kasi at this point, parang hindi na nag-work yung yellow magic. Oo, kaya medyo iniiba nila ang kanilang diskurso, ang kanilang plataforma.
Ana?
It could work in selected areas. They will have to be careful where. Like, for example, Lenny's endorsement will work in Bicol.
So depende sa...
But Bicol is a small small percentage of the population. So it will work in certain areas, but they really can't use it as a blanket endorsement the way that the president can swing it for his candidates.
Okay, nandito na rin tayo sa topic natin ng midterm elections kasi, well, President Duterte is not on the ballot. But, analysts are saying it's midterm elections, so parang test din to kung mananalo ba yung mga kandidato ng administrasyon. May ganun ba? Because it's a reflection of how the people trust the president. Ganun ba yun? Kasi sa US, that's what they say. When you have midterm elections, is it the same for us here in the Philippines?
Well, I guess to a certain extent you can say that. But we have to realize the fact that in the Philippines, hindi tayo bumoboto base doon sa partido. Whether or not a certain candidate is a party mate of the president, hindi ganon. So, mahirap masabi na it's going to be a referendum vote for the president. Kasi it has always been about brands or family names.
Or personalities.
Personalities, that's right.
And I was asking you kanina off camera yung about the approval and trust rating of the president in the last quarter, tumaas siya.
Tumaas ang approval niya from 76% to 81%. The trust stayed the same from 74 to 76. That's high, considering it's been 3 years, considering that he has a lot of controversial statements, considering that there's an issue that's being raised against him, even internationally, by international organizations, and that's your anti-illegal drugs campaign. Despite that, he has very high approval and trust ratings.
Okay, so yung na-mention mo na kanina na posibleng makatulong din kahit papano yung popularity ng presidente doon sa mga i-endorse niya.
Makakatulong sa mga ini-endorse niya. Pero kung hindi man niya madala, all three, kasi tatlo lang naman talaga tinutulak niya, I will still not say it's an indication of his effectivity dahil sobrang personality politics talaga yung ating mga kababayan. So,
Okay.
I will not fault the president.
Okay, among the 7 candidates, we have several first-timers in the senatorial race. What should they do to win the election? When we come back, we'll discuss the issues that matter most to Filipinos. This is a CNN Philippines special presentation. Welcome back. You're looking at live pictures at the Ateneo de Manila University's Yunday Hall. In a few minutes, we will be starting with the CNN Philippines second Senatorial Forum. So those are live pictures from there, from the Ateneo. And we asked a while ago, what should first-time senatorial candidates do in order to, to get victory or to win?
We'll probably say the same thing. Increase awareness of them. That's the first.
Like how? Kasi yung iba, they can't afford to, to air political ads or yung to go around the whole country. Anong pwede nilang gawin kaya?
Well, this kind of forum can help them a lot. Exposure, of course, media exposure. They have to be present in senatorial debates. Of course, they can also try social media, increase their presence in social media. In fact, mas ano pa nga, especially the youth, mas nagre-rely sila sa social media rather than watching the news. Tapos, I think, I have to agree with Ma'am Ana na they have to increase their awareness. Tapos, hindi naman, it's an uphill climb, kaya nga lang, hindi naman totally mahirap yan. They can learn the lessons from, say, for example, the case of Senator Flavier. O nawala naman, hindi naman nanggaling sa isang political family, hindi naman siya returnee. Oo. So, yun lang.
Ana?
Social media will play a bigger role this elections because when we first asked the question whether they access the internet in June, first asked it in June 2018, they were saying 37% nationwide were accessing. But it's now up to 53%. It jumped.
Wow.
And I hear it's because if you now get a phone, well, first of all, smartphones are pretty cheap, especially those made in China. So you have 53% of them saying they are access the internet. 98% of them have smartphones. All of the 53% have Facebook. Okay, so it's important for a candidate to have a digital presence. And the thing there is, if traditional media picks up something that's happening if something goes viral,
Yes.
and traditional media, mainstream media picks it up and broadcasts it, that's fantastic.
Yes.
Because broadcast is still better than viral. It has a wider reach. That's the hope of these candidates who don't have enough funds for TV ads.
Yes. Pero yun nga yung sinasabi niyong pwedeng i-target din yung millennials. Napapansin ko kasi yung mga lumalabas na ads, yung mga bago ngayon, parang medyo pang bata, like the ads of Amy Marcos or the ads of Nancy Binay na lumalabas ngayon. Malaki kasing percentage ng voters ngayon ay youth or...
Well, if you say youth up to 30, age 30, that's about siguro mga 30%. So the other group is still larger.
Yeah, okay.
And the turnout of the older group is still larger. But I think
That's right.
the thing is, if it's targeting the youth or the millennials, it's going to be upbeat. It's going to be attractive, even to the older people.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to target the older people, the cerebral older people, and then you just explain, I don't think you're going to get anywhere.
Kasama na rin siya sa style nung kanilang no?
So you also draw the older people by having an ad that targets the youth.
Okay, so Ana and Dennis, let's talk about the most urgent national concerns based on the Pulse Asia survey conducted from September 1 to 7 last year. Topping the list is controlling inflation, followed by increasing the pay of workers, reducing poverty, and creating more jobs. Also on the list is fighting graft and corruption and criminality and increasing peace in the country. There are also calls to stop the destruction and abuse of the environment, reducing the amount of taxes paid, and law enforcement. So ito yung sinasabi niyong mga issue na malapit sa sikmura eh. So ito yung mga, can you tell us talaga, ano ba talaga yung mga election issues that will really matter?
The top three.
Inflation, jobs.
Inflation, jobs, and pay of workers. Kasi ang utak ng tao natin simple lang eh. Tumaas man ang bilihin, basta tumaas ang sweldo ko. Basta may trabaho ako. Kaya interrelated yung tatlo, economic. Because we haven't seen an inflation figure as high as what we experienced during the last year. We haven't seen it in the past 8 or 9
9
years.
years, yeah.
And when we experienced it in 2008, 2009, yung inflation na yon was worldwide. So, eto, hindi sa atin
Unique to us because of the train
Oo.
load daw or other factors, di ba? Yun ang
Hindi,
sinasabi naman.
nag-combination nag-increase na yung geopolitics din.
Yes, yeah.
Increase in price ng oil,
International.
combination, tapos nag-train law ka, tapos nagkagulo yung rice supply and rice prices. Yon, mabigat yun.
But aside from that, Dennis, yung mga issues about traffic, will that matter? Foreign policy?
Well, in traffic, siguro that would matter a lot to the Metro Manila voters. Kasi I remember back into the 2016 presidential campaign, isa yan sa mga sinasabi ni Presidente that aside from solving the problem regarding illegal drugs, that's on the top of his campaign agenda. Kaya nga lang so far, nothing has happened. So as it has turned out, parang hindi siya ganun, just like the illegal drugs problem, hindi siya madaling nawawala. So if a senator, a senatorial candidate would would campaign on getting rid of the traffic woes in Metro Manila, I think that's going to earn him a lot of votes.
In Metro Manila.
Peace and order, criminality.
It's an issue that only probably a certain candidates can carry, and Bato being
Yeah.
one of them. I don't think they will listen to anybody else. I mean, among the current candidates, because it's really Bato's turf.
Yung mga ganong issues. Yung,
Ano?
eto, lately pinag-uusapan, very recent issue, and we're also gonna ask this later, yung lowering of the age of criminal responsibility, criminal liability. Will that matter?
It's an added issue. It can surprise some voters. I'm speaking from the reaction of our own office staff regarding a candidate's position,
Yeah.
and they were, what? They couldn't believe.
Na ganon.
Ganon. But I don't know if it will cause them to change their vote, especially since it's still not final. Okay? I think I saw a news earlier, flash in here, that another senator is looking at bringing it back up to 12, or bring it up to 12 instead of 9.
Yeah, from 9, yeah.
Down from 15 up to 12.
Yes. Okay. So, tignan natin mamaya kung paano sasagot yung ating mga candidates. And we will be starting in a few minutes with the CNN Philippines second senatorial forum. We'll pause for a break. This is a CNN Philippines special presentation. Those are live pictures from the Ateneo de Manila University's Yunde Hall. We're just about to get ready for the start of the second senatorial forum of CNN Philippines. We're now in our final stretch before that forum happens, and in a few minutes, we will take you live there at the Ateneo. So, last question na natin sa ating mga guests. Your expectations, briefly, anong gusto nyong marinig, anong inaasahan nyo from the forum?
They discuss the issues, especially the gut issues that concern our people. But I'd also like to hear how they handle the West Philippine Sea, because it's a strategic issue. It's about territorial sovereignty.
Yeah, I'd like to hear their stand on the economic issues, especially how are they going to address the adverse effects of train law. And how are they going to address the unemployment rate, the rising unemployment rate? So I think it's more on the economic issues.
Okay, so we'll all be back after the forum for the post-analysis. Stay tuned to CNN Philippines. So, babantayan na.
Is the largest non-government school of public service in the country. It graduates 300 to 400 professionals every year from its various programs, ranging from its PhD and master's degrees programs to its executive education training. It has become our tradition in ASOG to welcome reformists and leaders in the public sector to our school to share their ideas, experiences, and sometimes, if they're not corrupt, to teach. Today, we are pleased to collaborate with CNN Philippines and honored to welcome 7 citizens, 6 men and 1 woman, who have picked up the gauntlet of running for the Senate. They are not new to public service, each having dedicated decades of their lives to the service of their fellow Filipinos. Because of our candidates are not required to engage in public debate, we would like to thank them first and foremost for allowing their ideas to be exposed to public scrutiny and for engaging their fellow candidates and fellow citizens today in this forum by answering all our questions. Good luck to our candidates.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ronald Mendoza, Ateneo School of Government Dean. Again, thank you to the management and staff, faculty members, and all the students here at Ateneo. At this point, I would like to hear from the president of 9 Media Corporation, parent company of CNN Philippines, Ms. Army Harin Bennett.
It's so nice to see so many of you here this afternoon. Today's Senatorial Forum is just one of the many ways in which CNN Philippines can provide you with news and information you can trust, especially during this very important time in our nation's history. It is our job to ask our candidates the hard questions, to scrutinize their background and experience, to know where they stand on key issues that can affect or change our lives. And really, at the end of the day, how far they will go to do what is right for the Filipino people and protect this nation. We have just about 3 months to go till our midterm elections. And that's not a lot of time for us to get to know our candidates. And that's why we hope that this forum will serve a purpose, that we can help you make educated decisions on May 13th. We would like to thank the Ateneo de Manila University, particularly the Ateneo School of Government, for partnering with us today to make this Senatorial Forum possible. We are truly grateful. Salamat po sa inyo. And on behalf of my colleagues at CNN Philippines, thank you very much. It is a privilege to serve you every day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Army Harin Bennett. So today, we will be speaking to 7 senatorial candidates, and they are Rafi Alunan, Neri Colmenares, Samira Gutok, Florin Hilbay, Harry Roque, Mar Rojas, and Erin Tanyada. They are among the dozens of senatorial candidates who are running in the May 13th polls. And our moderators for today's forum will be our very own Ms. Pia Ontiveros and Ms. Pinky Webb. Sociologist Nicole Corato will also be leading our fact-checking team, and she will monitor reactions, questions, and feedback from social media. Our questions will be focused on issues that matter most to all of us, to every Filipino. Again, a few reminders. Please turn your phones into silent mode or turn them off completely. No food and drinks are allowed inside the Hyundai Hall. Thank you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the program. Use the hashtag #TheFilipinoVotes. Here we go. Dozens of senatorial candidates in the running. 7 of them are here this afternoon. We will now begin the Senate Forum in a few minutes. Thank you.
Rafi Alunan, a two-time cabinet member. He was DILG secretary during the term of President Fidel Ramos and served as tourism secretary during President Cory Aquino's administration. He's running under the Bagumbayan Party.
Neri Colmenares, a former Bayan Muna party list representative and the only senatorial candidate of the Makabayan Coalition. The former congressman is also a human rights lawyer.
Samira Gutok, she was a legislator of the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao, also a former member of the Bangsamoro Transition Commission.
Florin Hilbay, a former Solicitor General who served from 2014 to 2016. He is running under Acción Democrático. He was part of the team that led the country's case against China over the disputed territories before a UN-backed arbitral court in The Hague in 2012.
Harry Roque, he was spokesperson for President Rodrigo Duterte. He was a human rights lawyer and was a party list congressman. He's running under the People's Reform Party.
Mar Rojas, the former DILG secretary, was a senator from 2004 to 2010. He served as transportation secretary as well as trade and industry secretary. He is running under the Liberal Party.
And Erin Tanyada, a former Quezon congressman. He was also former deputy House Speaker. He is seeking a Senate seat under the Liberal Party. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, Ateneo de Manila. I'm Pia Ontiveros.
And I'm Pinky Webb. Our job is to ask our 7 senatorial candidates the question that matters most to the Filipino people. We have a live fact-checking team together led by our resident sociologist, Nicole Corato. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, Pinky. Good afternoon. This afternoon, we are joined by a team of sociology students from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. They will fact-check what our candidates are saying and also listening to conversations online. We invite our audiences to join the conversation using the hashtag #TheFilipinoVotes.
Again, welcome to our candidates today. Please take your seats, sirs and ma'am. A reminder just for you, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer questions. You will hear a sound to remind you that you have 10 seconds left. And then there will be another sound to remind you that your time is up. We have monitors right in front of you to help you keep track of the time. However, you are welcome to go straight to the point and keep your answers brief. Which will then give us more time for more questions and I suppose make you sound and look so much better. We also have our yes or no portions where you have your yes or no, the signboards right beside you. When we ask a question later, we will say this is a yes or no question and then you will just hold the signboard up.
So I guess they should choose the signboard to their left.
To their left,
okay.
To your left, okay? And wag po mangongopya ng sagot. All right, well, let's begin with our first question, which will serve as your opening statement. What have you done to serve the Filipino people? Candidates, you will be answering in alphabetical order. Let's start with you, sir, Secretary Rafi Alunan.
In the 7 years that I served in government, I fought terrorism, I fought criminality, I fought poverty, I fought rebellion, and I supported the policies that focused on reform, especially social reform. Malawak po ang aking karanasan pagdating ho sa tourism development, sa governance, sa national security at international relations. At malawak din ang aking kakayahan pagdating po sa pagsugpo ng katiwalian, ng korupsyon, ng kriminalidad, ng rebelyon at terorismo. Yan po ang aking ginawa nung ako'y naglingkod sa bayan, sa pamilyang Pilipino from 1989 to 1996.
Thank you, Secretary Lunan. Congressman Colmenares, sir.
Ako po'y naging congressman, ako po'y naging human rights lawyer, at isa rin pong aktivista sa mahabang panahon. Nangangalampag po ako sa mga issue, katulad ng mga ginawa ko noon sa Kongreso, pag-file ng mga bill laban sa mataas na presyo, mga bills na nagpapataas ng pensyon, mga bills na nagpapataas ng sweldo. May mga batas po akong naipasa, katulad ng pagpataas ng pensyon, 2,000 piso dagdag sa SSS pension, at ilalaban ko rin po yan kung palarin sa Senado. Ako po'y sa mahabang panahon naging involved as a human rights lawyer sa mga laban ng mamamayan. Kakampi po nila ako sa Kongreso sa mahabang panahon, at sa mahabang panahon din yon, ako po'y hindi kinikitaan ng pagbitiw sa prinsipyo ng mamamayang Pilipino. Hindi na dungisan ng anumang bahid ng korupsyon o kriminalidad o ano pa mang gawain ng mga public officials na nakakasama sa bayan. Ito po ang aking naging track record sa Kongreso bilang congressman at bilang human rights lawyer at bilang aktivista. Aminin ko po, aktivista ako, pero kailangan po ang aktivista para mga lampag doon sa Kongreso at kailangan panahon ngayon ng isang aktivista at makabayan doon sa Senado. Maraming salamat po.
Gutok.
Yes.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Samira Gutok po ay isang co-drafter ng BOL na pinasa ngayon ng Monday by 1.2 million votes. So isa po tayong drafter ng BOL, isa pong ina, isa pong Rana Rescue Team worker dahil po sa humanitarian crisis natin sa Marawi Siege that displaced almost 500,000 people of Lanao del Sur and Marawi City. Isa po tayo naging mambabatas ng Autonomous Region where we pushed for FOI and Education Act, and we also pushed as a BTC Commissioner the rights of Christians and the rights of IPs to live in harmony sa Bangsamoro population. Samira Gutok po, isang ina, isang survivor, at sana po isusulong ang tahanang mapayapa.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's hear from Florine Hilbay.
My entire professional life has been lived in service of the nation. In 1999, I ranked first in the bar examinations. I could have gone to a private law office. Instead, nagtrabaho po ako bilang isang guro sa Universidad ng Pilipinas. 18 taon po akong nagserbisyo bilang isang guro para sa mga magpapalayang abogado sa ating bayan. Nagtrabaho din po ako kasama ni Senador Salonga. Sinamahan ko po siya sa Bantay, Katarungan. In 2013, I was appointed as Senior State Solicitor. I argued before the Supreme Court, the RH law, and we won. As Solicitor General, nabawi po natin ang 71 bilyon ng coconut levy funds na nasa kabada po ng ating bayan. As Solicitor General, I stood as agent and counsel to the Republic in Philippines versus China, a case that we won. After 2016, bumalik po ako sa Universidad ng Pilipinas bilang maging isang guro muli. Ngunit maraming hamon na nagpalabas sa akin sa universidad. I am a non-politician running for public office. I am Florine Pilo Hilbay.
Thank you, sir. All right. Let's now hear from Harry Roque.
Well, ako po si Harry Roque. Gaya po ni Florine, nagturo rin po ako ng batas sa pamantasan ng Pilipinas ng 15 taon. Ginamit po natin ang batas para baguhin ang lipunan. No? Ginamit po natin ang Supreme Court para makakuha ng mga orders na nadedeklara sa naunang State of National Emergency na dineklara na labag sa saligang batas. Ang kauna-unahang writ of amparo po para sa mamamahayag, tayo pong nakakuha. Isa sa pinakaunang writ of kalikasan para protektahan ang Boracay ay napanalo rin natin sa Korte Suprema. Naging mambabatas po ako at I'm very proud of the fact that although I served only for 19 years in Congress, I passed many of the major legislation that was enacted by the 17th Congress. Panguna na po rito ang universal health care, ang libreng pagamot at libreng gamot, which was House Bill 23, the very first bill that I filed on the very first day and hour of Congress. Kasama din po dyan ang libreng irigasyon at kasama rin po dyan ang libreng tanghalian sa mga nagugutom na kabataan. Kasama rin po ako sa nagsulong sa libreng tuition para sa state universities and colleges at sa libreng wifi. Ako po'y nag-a-apply ngayon para maging senador dahil unang-una napatunayan ko na po yung kakayahan ko sa larangan ng paggagawa ng batas at pangalawa po bilang isang spokesperson, binigyan ko rin po ng importansya ang karapatan ng tao doon sa tinatawag na freedom of information. May mga pagkakataon, maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Secretary Roque. Let's hear from Secretary Mar Rojas.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Ako po si Mar Rojas. Medyo matagal nang retirado pero ngayon bumabalik. Kaya ninenervyos. Una po ninyo akong nakilala bilang Mr. Palengke. At doon nagbantay tayo na ang presyo ay mananatiling abot kaya ng lahat ng mga misis at mamimili. Sinulong ho natin yung Cheaper Medicines Law na kung saan ang presyo ng gamot para sa Norvasc, sa mga gamot para sa diabetes, sa cancer at iba pang mga maintenance medicine ay maipababa at yan po ay napasa. Dagdag pa doon ay tayo nagsulong ng batas para matanggal ang buwis sa mga minimum wage earners at para sa mga OFW. Sa paglikha naman ng trabaho, DTI tayo noon nung isinulong natin yung mga call centers, mga BPO, mga IT, na ngayon napakaraming nakikinabang ng mga kabataan natin at plano ko na lalo pa itong palawakin. Lumalahok muli sa pagkasenador dahil naniniwala ako na dapat mas malayo pa ang mararating ng ating bansa. Hindi ako kontento na hanggang sa kahirapan na lang o sa kulelat ang Pilipinas. Maraming salamat. Magandang hapon sa inyo.
Salamat po, Secretary Rojas. Congressman Erin Tanyada.
Maraming salamat, Pia. Magandang araw po sa inyo lahat. Ako po si Erin Tanyada. Matagal pong naglilingkod sa mamamayan. Nagsimula po ako bilang student leader dahil sa pag-aruga ng aking mga lolo at aking tatay. Sila po ang namulat po sa akin sa ating pagkakilala sa ating lipunan. Sabi po nila sa akin, kung gusto mong maglingkod sa ating bayan, kailangan kang makinig sa problema ng ating mamamayan. At bilang isang student leader, ako po ay nakibaka at sumama sa pagtataguyod muli ng mga student councils at student organizations. Naging human rights lawyer, pinaglingkuran po natin ang mga manggagawa at magsasaka. At pumasok po sa politika at pinatuloy po natin ang pakikinig sa ating mga mamamayan sa mga problemang hinaharap po nila. Nandyan po yung usapin ng coconut levy, nandyan po yung usapin ng universal healthcare, nandyan po yung usapin ng cheaper medicines bill. Marami pong problema ang hinaharap ng ating mamamayan hanggang ngayon. Marami pa rin sagot na tinatanong sila at si Erin Tanyada po ay handang magtrabaho para sa kanila. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Congressman Tanyada.
All right, this is our next question. It's about the age of criminal responsibility. This question goes to Secretary Harry Roque, Secretary Mar Rojas, and Secretary Rafi Alunan. This has been a much talked about topic the past week, and amid the public outrage, the House of Representatives approved on second reading a bill lowering what they now call the minimum age of social responsibility to 12 years old. Of course, we know that the House originally had the minimum age at 9. The Senate has yet to vote on the measure.
Well,
Sorry, sir, here it is. Candidates, here's the question. What is your stand on the lowering of the age of criminal responsibility. We start with you, Secretary Harry Roque.
I was in Congress when this was originally discussed. I was very much against lowering the age to 9 because I thought, and it's supported by scientific studies, that by 9 years old, the brain has not yet developed fully, and that children should not be treated as criminals. So in fact, when I was new in Congress, I conducted a seminar for my fellow congressmen and arguing that no one should support the lowering of age of criminal liability to age 9. However, I am supportive of lowering the age to 12. Why? As a professor of international law, the Committee on the Rights of the Child, which is an authoritative group of distinguished persons, have recommended that the minimum age should be 12. It should not be below 12. And secondly, I was somehow influenced by I think everyone saw that video of a student bullying. I think it was in this university as well. No? And under existing law, a 14-year-old would absolutely incur no criminal responsibility. No? So I thought perhaps it should not be 9, but perhaps it should also not be as late as 15. So I'm happy and comfortable with 12.
Thank you, sir. Secretary Mar Rojas, you're next, sir.
Alam nyo, simple lang ito eh. 18 years old bago ka pwedeng bumoto. 18 years old bago pwede kang uminom ng alak. 18 years old bago ka pwedeng pumasok sa ating armed forces. 18 years old ang age of majority. Bakit natin paparusahan? Bakit natin ikukulong ang mga kabataan sa mas murang edad, sa 12 o kaya sa 9? Para sa akin, hayaan natin yung kasalukuyang batas, suportahan natin ng todo at tingnan talaga natin kung kulang ito. At sa ganun, doon tayo maghain ng mga proposals para baguhin ito. The law as it exists right now has not worked to its full extent. So pondohan natin, suportahan natin, at ilagay natin sa tama.
Thank you, sir.
I still have no more?
You still have time, sir.
Wala, in-erase na eh. May utang kayo sa akin.
Balikan ka namin mamaya, sir. Secretary Rafi Alunan, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I think we're forgetting the most essential part of the problem here, which is prevention. Whether you're talking of 18 years old or 15 years old or 12 or 9, the important thing is for the parents to be very much involved in protecting their young and making sure that they don't get into trouble. I think that whether the age limit is lowered to 12 or 9, I think the parents should be held accountable. There is already a law that holds the parents accountable, but I don't know whether it's being implemented. In the United States, there is a law that heavily penalizes parents who are neglectful of their responsibilities and parental obligations. Now, I also understand that there are juvenile centers already in place. There are 57 all over the country. There should be 114, and the local government units are the ones in charge. Unfortunately, they're not doing a very good job. And I think this is a good opportunity for civil society to come in and help their governments, because in so doing, they'll help themselves and they'll help the youth at risk and in conflict. I helped Balay Pag-asa, a juvenile center in La Salle, Bacolod, which was set up by Brother Gus Boquer and Danding Cojuangco. And I think we should do that all over the country, civil society and government working together. Salamat po.
Maraming salamat.
The law is enough. That's what they're saying.
Secretary Rafi Luna.
From the minimum age of criminal responsibility, we'll talk about this next question. This is a yes or no question. Please get your signboards beside you to your left.
The one to your left, gentlemen.
We asked this during our last senatorial forum. Do you support reimposing the death penalty for drug-related crimes? Yes or no? Yes for Secretary Alunan, no.
And no for everyone else.
No for everybody else. Drug-related crimes, yes. All right.
1
Sayang, wala tayong
versus
explanation time.
6. No explanation. And of course, we are also monitoring reactions and questions from social media. We will be asking those questions later on in the program.
When we return, a question on the administration's controversial war on drugs. You're watching a CNN Philippines special presentation, our second senatorial forum for this election season.
And we're live at CNN Philippines Online. So we got some questions from social media addressed to some of our candidates. And the first question that we got from social media is addressed to Samira Gutok. So if Samira, we have a question from Samira. Hi.
Hi.
We're right here. We have a question for you
Yes,
from
Nikki.
social media. And the question is about the quality of rural of education in rural areas. And the question wonders what you will do to help improve the quality of education in rural areas.
I'm a strong supporter of Teachers for Barrios programs. Importante po ay maging accessible po ang edukasyon natin sa mga rural, sa mga mountain areas, our non-accessible areas. And for me, Teachers for Barrios are a necessary, vital legislation or a component of educational reforms that we should look at. Teachers for Barrios ensures that children outside the formal system, the formal city areas, are made accessible and are able to get into the school system.
Thank you, Samira. We are also welcoming questions from the audience. So anyone who is close to me can ask a question. I will.
There
All
you
right.
go.
We have a question at the back. If we can meet in the middle, maybe we can take your question. Just please introduce your name and your affiliation. And let's keep this brief.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dale from De La Salle University. Now, I would like to ask the senatoriables, what do you think should be done in order to restore the faith of Filipino people in vaccines, considering that it declined due to the politicization of the public health sector?
Can you just pick one candidate?
Okay. Sige, kay former spokesperson Harry Roque na lang.
Yes. Well, I agree po with the position of the President. Hindi po pwedeng emotional, hysterical reaction tayo. Kinakailangan magkaroon tayo ng advice galing sa dalubhasa. Nagtalaga po ng 3 dalubhasang eksperto ang Presidente at pakikinggan niya ang findings nitong mga dalubhasang ito. So kung mapapansin niyo po, ang Presidente is very cautious in commenting on the Dengvaxia issue. Sinabi niya nung una, if he were present at that time, he would have done the same thing. But at the same time, tinitignan niya, pinapatuloy yung investigasyon kung may pananagutan talaga yung Sanofi. No? Pero hanggang ngayon po, nag-aantay tayo ng findings ng mga dalubhasa. And I think the sooner that it is released, the better.
We are live from the Hyundai Hall of the Ateneo de Manila University. Welcome back to the second CNN Philippines Senatorial Forum. This is actually part 2, and today we have 7 senatorial aspirants who are here on stage with us. We are just about 3 months away from our midterm election.
That's why it's really important na malaman natin ang kanilang mga stand sa mga issues, because this can affect or even change our lives. We'd also like to let you know that we invited as many candidates as possible, especially those also in the Magic 12. For example,
At least according to the surveys.
the last survey.
The last surveys.
Senators Grace Poe, Senator Cynthia Villar, Senator Nancy Binay, Senator Pia Cayetano, and even Senator Sani Angara. Unfortunately, obviously, they declined. Also, Senator Coco Pimentel was meant to be here today, but due to some last-minute issues, he had to attend a particular engagement. We also invited, for your information, Senators Jinggoy Estrada and Senator Bong Revilla, but they were also unavailable. But do not worry, we will keep on inviting them, and possibly to the April
debate, and we
CNN
will have
Philippines.
more senatorial forums. We do need to accommodate as many senatorial candidates as possible. Now, this next question goes to the 2 former DILG secretaries, Rafi Alunan and Mar Rojas. The Human Rights Watch released a report on January 18th saying the government's war on drugs has deepened. Last year, the Senate conducted inquiries into the smuggling of billions of pesos worth of drugs through the Bureau of Customs. Meanwhile, the PDEA says there was a significant rise in the number of drug trafficking incidents involving foreign express delivery and domestic courier services last year. How will you solve the country's drug problem? Secretary Rojas?
Well, unang-una, sa demand side, no? Yung paggabay ng mga magulang sa kanilang mga anak, yung pagiging cool ng malinis at hindi durugista. Yung mga, para humupa yung desire for many of our young na lumahok sa drugs para lamang makasama sila. Doon naman po sa mga lulong na they're already addicted to the drugs, then of course, we need rehabilitation centers at mga doktor at mga dalubhasa para matulungan sila. On the law enforcement side, napapansin natin lahat na yung mga malalaki, yung mga nag-i-import nitong mga tone-toneladang mga drugs na ito or yung mga materyales na sa paggawa ng drugs ay hindi naaresto. Lahat ng mga naaresto nakatsinelas. Lahat ng mga naaresto mahihirap. Lahat ng mga naaresto ay yung mga low-level criminals. No? Saan yung mga malalaki? Hindi naman dumadating. Yung 1 gramo na dumadating sa barangay, nagmumula yan sa tone-tonelada, sa mga laboratories na ginagawa. Nasaan yan? Ako, susuportahan ko ang paggamit ng mga intelligence funds para alamin kung nasaan itong mga laboratories na ito, para alamin kung sino itong mga drug funders na ito, itong mga kapitalista sa drug. Para sa akin, yan ang sagot dyan.
Thank you, Secretary Rojas. Secretary Alunan?
Thank you very much. When I was in the DILG, I was told by the DEA in the United States na drugs were coming into the country and that narco-politics was seeping in. And if we don't watch it, we would become a narco state like Colombia. That was in 1995. Fast forward today, we now have a raging forest fire. There are several ways to address it. Number one, reform the criminal justice system sapagkat marami pang skalawag sa 4 pillars of the criminal justice system: police, prosecutor, judges, jails. Anybody can free themselves from the clutches of justice and the law because bulok na bulok yung ating mga pillars of the criminal justice system. So we need to reform that. Secondly, we have to strengthen our laws like the Human Security Act and revised penal codes para matakot ang tao. Third, we have to make sure that we provide or render swift justice because justice delayed is justice denied. In the case of, I also would like to propose a division of labor. Society takes care of its addicts while the government takes care of the syndicates. And lastly, I would like to impose the death penalty for drug-related crimes, especially against the syndicates who undermine society and undermine our government. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Secretary Alunan. Our next topic is on inflation. Ang dami kasing concerned dito, very worried about this. High prices, of course, a very big concern. It's a question from our audience on social media, and we will ask 3 of our candidates to answer: Samira, Gutok, Erin Tanyada, and Florin Hilbay. Let's go to Nicole for that question. Nicole?
One of the most popular questions we get on social media is related to inflation. So we ask our candidates, how do you make the prices of basic goods and services more stable?
Ang concern ko bilang isang ina at taong pamilya ay pagiging vulnerable ng mga mahihirap. We are the poorest of one of the poorest countries in the world. Actually, ang description is draconian. Mas mahirap sa hirap ang Pilipinas. Inflation can be addressed by giving cushions and safeguards to how we implement our economic policies. Dapat po yung mga mahihirap ang lalong bibigyan ng polisiya. How do they survive under the circumstances? So dapat po yun ang ating i-institute na policies, cushions and safeguards for our poorest of the poor.
Thank you, Samira. Gutok. Let's go to Congressman Erin Tanyada.
Maraming salamat, Pia. Una, kailangan po natin alamin kung saan nanggaling yung inflation rise po natin. At kung titingnan nga po natin, maliwanag po dahil po ito sa Train 1. Ang panawagan po natin, sana ma-suspend muna hindi lamang yung excise tax ng 2019, kundi excise tax rin po ng 2018. Ngayon, nakakalungkot po ang ating administrasyon po ay nagbibingihan sa mga hinaing ng ating mga mamamayan at yung sinasabi po ng ating mga mamamayan, itong mga safety nets na dapat kasabay po ng Train 1. Hanggang ngayon, hindi fully implemented. Kaya lalong naghihirap po ang ating mga mamamayan. So kailangan po natin i-suspend itong mga excise taxes.
Thank you, Congressman Tanyada. Florin Hilbay.
Dalawang bagay po yung nagpataas ng presyo ng mga bilihin noong nakaraang taon. Unang-una, yung train. Pangalawa, yung pagtaas ng presyo ng bigas. Ako po, bill pa lang yung Train 1, tutol na po ako. Dahil sa tingin ko, ang bawat batas ay isang kompromiso. Kung ikaw yung nasa taas, doon sa Train 1, kebs ka lang naman eh. Okay lang sa'yo yan dahil di ka masyado naapektuhan. Kung nasa gitna ka, bababa yung income taxes mo, then you get to internalize the cost of your own economic activity. Pero yung problema, yung nasa ilalim, yung nasa laylayan, yung mga walang kapangyarihan, sila yung hindi nabigyan ng oportunidad para magsalita. At sila yung tinamaan ng pagtaas ng presyo ng train. Lugi sila doon. It's also unconstitutional from the standpoint of the policy of the 1987 Constitution. Yung atas ng ating saligang batas, progressive system of taxation. Ability to pay, ang basihan doon sa pagpataw ng buwis, hindi kung ano man lang. No? Pangalawa, nakita natin na hindi na-manage ng maayos yung presyo ng bigas, kaya naman tumaas. Kaya sa tingin ko, yung dalawang bagay na nasa kontrol ng pamahalaan na nabitiwan, yung pagpataw ng Train 1 at yung pagtaas ng presyo ng bigas, yun yung kailangan na i-manage.
Maraming salamat, sir. The next question is still about inflation. And, malapit na kayo, sir. And this one goes to Congressman Nery Colmenares, Secretary Harry Roque, and Secretary Mar Rojas. How can we bring down the price of rice and protect rice farmers at the same time? Congressman Colmenares, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Well, ang unang problema talaga sa pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin ng bigas, for example, ay ang kulang talaga ang suporta ng gobyerno sa agrikultura. Can you imagine that? A government which imposes irrigation fees sa mga magsasaka niya. Kumpara sa Vietnam, kumpara sa Thailand, tayo lang ang nag-impose ng irrigation fee, kaya mahal ang production cost. So dapat talaga suportahan ng gobyerno yan. Pangalawa po, inflation is affecting even the rice industry. Mataas ang presyo ng gasolina, tubig, kuryente. Bakit? Ay grabe ang pataw ng gobyerno ng buwis. Saan ka nakakita ng bansa talagang halos itatax lahat ng inflationary products? Kuryente, tubig, langis. Pag tinaasan mo yan ng tax, tataas lang lahat ng presyo ng bilihin. Kaya ang mga magsasaka natin, pag-transport mo pa lang ng iyong, ang iyong produkto, lugi ka na. Kaya, siyempre, sabihin nila, mas mura sa Vietnam, mas mura sa Thailand. Bilyon-bilyon ang ginagastos ng gobyerno para sa yumaman ng magsasaka ng Vietnam, ng Thailand, iba pa. Dapat bilyon-bilyon igastos sa magsasaka para yumaman ng ating magsasaka. Yun po ang problema dito. At secondly, maraming kartel po dyan sa rice industry. Dapat tigilan ng kartel na nagmamanipulate para itaas ang presyo ng bigas at mga bilihin. Salamat po.
Secretary Harry Roque.
Natin ngayon yung bagong panukalang batas na yung tinatawag na rice tarification. No? Importante po na mapababa ang presyo ng bigas dahil yan po ay malapit sa ating sitmura. At sa tingin ko po, no, kung kulang talaga ating produksyon ng bigas, tayo kumalap sa ibang mga bansa. No? Pero importante rin na yung papel din ng NFA, ipagpatuloy natin. Sa proseso na nagkakaroon ng stockpile ng NFA, dapat kung anong dapat na presyong ibigay sa ating mga lokal na mga magsasaka, ibigay na natin. Binabayaran naman natin ang mga dayuhang mga magsasaka. No? So kung ano yung bayad natin sa kanila, ibigay na rin natin sa mga lokal na mga magsasaka yung ganong presyo na pinambibili natin. Pangalawa, importante pong labanan pa rin ang korupsyon dyan sa NFA. Alam po natin, kaya tayo nagkaproblema dahil sa issue ng korupsyon. Kinakailangan po mapanagot yung mga hindi bumili ng mga panahon na dapat sila bumili ng bigas. At importante yung mga maparusahan, yung mga nagkalap ng bigas na hindi naman nakarating sa taong bayan. Sa akin, it's still about the rule of law. It's still about enforcing our laws against graft and corruption. Kaya po nagkulang bigas, nagkaroon ng korupsyon dyan sa NFA.
Secretary Mar Rojas, sir.
Pinky, I feel very strongly about this, no? Alam niyo po, sa larangan ng bigas, unang-una, nakakadismaya na ang ating pera pupunta pa sa Thailand, sa ibang mga bansa para makakain lamang tayo. Samantalang may mga magsasakang Pilipino na kaya naman nilang i-produce yung pangangailangan natin. Ang average harvest, ang average yield sa Pilipinas is 4 tons per hectare. Ito nagagawa at magagawang 6 to 8 tons per hectare. Ibig sabihin, dodoble ang kanilang kita kahit hindi pa lumaki yung lupain na sinasaka nila. Ito nagagawa na, you know where? Negros Occidental. Isang probinsya na kilalang kilala para sa tubo. Ngayon, they have 30,000 hectares averaging 6 tons per hectare. And going to 8 tons per hectare. Certified seeds, ang importante, tulong sa mga magsasaka, at murang pautang para hindi sila baon sa utang. Hindi pa nila na itatanim yung kanilang sasakahin, naiutang at nabenta na nila. Pangalawa, post-harvest facilities. DA natin mismo nagsasabi, 25% ng inaning palay hindi nako-convert into rice dahil purol yung treasure, dahil binibilad sa kalye. So we can improve, we can double the income of the farmers and as well as increase it by 30%. Thank you.
Secretary Rojas.
We have another yes or no question.
Get your
Candidates, please
signboards
prepare
ready.
your signboards. Should Congress compel President Duterte to make his medical records public, whether or not it is a serious illness, as the Constitution says? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Everybody. Oh, okay. No from Rafi Alunan and Harry Roque.
Okay.
Wow, the audience reaction, huh?
Pia, 2 no's.
2 no's. Rafi Alunan and
Secretary
Harry
Alunan
Roque.
and Secretary Harry
Ang sarap
Roque.
sana tanungin, ano? Explanation,
nga
pero
eh.
hindi pwede. Kaya nga, yes or no?
Pia, baka sa break.
Baka sa
Tanungin
break,
natin.
no? At ang sarap tanungin ng audience, bakit kaya ganyan kayo mag-react? But anyway, okay. All right, this is...
We're gonna go on a break, Pia.
This is a CNN Philippines special presentation. When we return, we're going to talk about traffic, which is costing this country 3.5 billion pesos a day in lost opportunities. The challenge now is to how to make creative use of our time when we are stuck in traffic,
And
Pinky.
the thing is, if this is not addressed, this is going to cost us 5.4 billion pesos a day by 2035. So, you want to find out their answers? We'll be back after this break.
And it is for
Attorney Florin Hilbay.
former Solicitor General Florin Hilbay. Your question is?
Sir, what are your perceptions on the Philippine-China relations and its implications on geopolitics?
I think we've made a very big mistake in making a 180-degree turnaround. When we fought for the West Philippine Sea, everybody looked up to us. We were seen as fighting a just cause, and that just cause was fought in courts, not in the battlefield. And that was a good thing to do. I think we're losing a lot of credibility, not only among Filipinos. 84%, I think, of Filipinos are disappointed with the administration's policy with respect to the West Philippine Sea. We've incurred a lot of reputational costs as well, all over the world. I would have thought that winning the case in Philippines versus China would have been a very good platform for us to build a rules-based alliance with our countries with other countries like Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, Japan, South Korea, Australia, EU, the United States. And that would have been a very strong counterforce to the aggression of China. We need to make sure that China incurs a very heavy reputational cost for disrespecting international law. Hindi sila pwedeng mamili ng international law. Pag pabor sa kanila, okay sila. Pag hindi pabor, ayaw nila at dinidisrespeto. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, John. Let's go to Nicole for more questions on our social media. Nicole?
Thank you, Andre. We actually have a question for Secretary Mar Rojas from social media. The question is, what drives you to run again in public office?
Alam nyo, tumawid na ako sa pagiging senior citizen itong nakaraang mga taon na ito. No? Wala sa itsura. 120/80. Seriously. Pinanganak ako, hinahangaan tayo. Pumapangalawa tayo sa bansang Hapon, sa buong Asya. Naging senior citizen at ako, kulelat tayo. Hindi ko matanggap na hanggang dito na lang, hanggang sa kahirapan na lang ang Pilipinas. Bilang ama, gusto ko na maging maginhawa ang buhay ng mga Pilipino tulad ng pangarap ko para sa aking anak na kagagraduate lang. No? Bilang isang ekonomista, nalalaman ko na makakaahon ang Pilipino kung malago ang ating ekonomiya. Dito ako may alam, dito ako may karanasan, at dito ako makaka-contribute. And that's why I'm running again.
Okay, we have a couple of seconds left. No more question. Hindi na kaya. Later on, siguro pagbalik natin. Live at the Ateneo de Manila University. This is a CNN Philippines special presentation, our second Senatorial Forum. So, the next question will be about traffic, as we asked before the break. Pia, traffic congestion was a major political issue in 2016. We are craving for a solution. Ang dami po nagsabi sa amin, pakitanong naman, ano ba talaga ang plano nila sa traffic sa Metro Manila at sa ilan pang bahagi ng bansa? So, we need to ask our candidates. But we'd like them to be a little bit more specific about this. The question goes to three of our candidates. That's Neri Colmenares, Erin Tanyada, and Samira Guto. What are your proposed short-term and long-term solutions to our crippling traffic problem? Congressman Colmenares, let's start with you, sir.
Well, ang unang problem sa traffic, pinrivatize lahat. Kuryente, tubig, ngayon pati transportasyon. Kaya tutol talaga kami na binenta ng gobyerno ang MRT. At tingnan nyo, dahil private na siya, tumataas ang singil sa pamasahe, ang tao napipilitan pa ngayon na kumuha ng public transport sa baba. Ang aking solusyon po dyan, una, mass public transport, supported ng gobyerno, katulad ng maraming bansa sa mundo. Yan po ang aking isang solusyon dyan. Pangalawa, doon naman may korupsyon sa traffic po. Napakasabi nila, pag naglagay ka, makakalusot ka. Yun ang nangyayari kaya may disorders sa streets. Maliban sa punto na kulang na talaga ang kalsada at hindi yan supported sa ngayon. Hindi ako naniniwala na masamang lahi ang Pilipino, na wala daw tayong disiplina, mga Hapon, mga Amerikano. Pag drive-in mo yung isang Japanese dito, after 6 months, magva-violate na rin ng traffic rules, lalo na't nakikita niya, pwede naman pala maglagay. That's the second. Third, long-term po, dapat ma-decongest ang Metro Manila. Dapat po mayroong economic and industrialization programs sa countrysides. Dapat po hindi dito nakikita ang lahat. Sentro na siya ng gobyerno, sentro ng trabaho at business. Dapat po spread yan sa countrysides. Yun po ang aking paniwala, public mass transport at pag-unlad ng countrysides, yan ang solusyon sa ating traffic dito sa Metro Manila.
Congressman Erin Tanyada, please go ahead, sir.
Alam mo yung problema sa traffic, kagaya ng sinabi ni Neri, unang-una, kailangan mas public transport. Pangalawa, simple lang ang naiisip po natin, bawasan po natin ang number of buses that go through EDSA. Kung pwede lang nga, isang bus company lang po ang mag-operate sa EDSA. Nakikita na po natin yung point-to-point, gumagana, ipalaganap po natin sa EDSA yan. At kung makikita po ng taong bayan na on time dumadating ang mga bus, gagaan po ang traffic at sila mismo ang sasakay sa mga bus. Pero ang problema dito ngayon, maraming bus operators ang nag-ooperate sa EDSA at importanteng masagot yan. Pangatlo po, at tingin ko ito yung isa sa pwedeng solusyon long term. Bakit pumupunta sa Metro Manila ang taong bayan? Dahil mataas ang sweldo dito. Kailangan po natin tignan ang minimum wage po natin. Kung kailangan magkaroon ng isang minimum wage sa buong Pilipinas, yun po ang magdi-disperse ng mga tao sa mga probinsya.
National minimum wage, sir? Okay.
Pwede.
All right.
And Samira Gutok?
Yes, siguro what's left is to raise the issue na yung mga probinsyano, gaya natin, ay paano po maka-access ng mga trabaho in the provinces. Many of us are applying in Metro Manila, and I feel also many of the government offices are based in the NCR. The MMDA has to work with regional planning offices on how we can study on cascading opportunities in the provinces. We are going to have to think seriously to transfer some government offices to the provinces as well.
Thank you, Samira Gutok. Our next question. The Labor Department has confirmed an influx of foreign tourists, particularly Chinese nationals, who end up working here. This is a question for four of our candidates: Florin Hilbay, Rafi Alunan, Harry Roque, and Mar Rojas. What can you do to protect Filipino workers and ensure that they are not denied jobs they are qualified for? Florin Hilbay first.
Malinaw sa akin na may kaakibat na korupsyon doon sa nangyayari. No? Karamihan doon sa mga pumapasok dito ay illegal. Hindi natin sila natatrack, hindi natin alam kung bakit sila nandito in the first place. And that is a problem that is of paramount importance. The corruption that is associated with the influx of Chinese workers. Yung mga Chinese workers, naghanap lang naman sila ng oportunidad dito. Katulad ng mga Pilipino na naghanap ng oportunidad sa ibang bansa. Pero I think there's a responsibility within government for allowing a substantial number of Chinese workers to work illegally. And now, they're about to compete with Filipino workers. And ang rhetoric ng ating pamahalaan ngayon ay wala pa daw skilled workers na Pilipino, kaya naman nakakapasok yung mga Chinese workers dito. I think it's demeaning to Filipino workers and it's justification of the corruption that is associated with the influx of those Chinese workers here.
Thank you, Florin Hilbay. Secretary Alunan.
I know that the workers that come from China work in the online gambling industry, in the mining industry, and in the construction industry. We have skilled workers for the construction industry. We have skilled workers for the mining industry. We may not have the kind of expertise for online gambling once it comes to translation, to translators. But there is a problem with online gambling, and even China itself realizes that. It has clamped down on online gambling to the detriment of the Malaysian economy. And pretty soon, I expect China to clamp down on online gambling in the Philippines as well. But more than that, I think there are people that are allowed inside the country because of corruption. And that's because our gatekeepers, like the Bureau of Immigration, are easily bought. And there's also a lot of human smuggling going on. Our borders are very porous, and we don't have enough gatekeepers to prevent people from coming in. So government has a lot to do. in terms of upgrading its capacities and its capabilities of securing the country, protecting the people, and making sure that elements like unwanted labor, replacing Filipino labor, are prevented.
Thank you, Secretary Alunan. Secretary Roque.
Well, naniniwala po ako na ang trabaho sa Pilipinas ay para po sa mga Pilipino. Ang tanong, meron ba talagang sapat na mga manggagawa, lalong-lalo na doon sa mga industriya na nangangailangan? Kailangan po ng masusing pag-aaral kung ano talagang kakulangan natin at kung meron ba tayong sapat na manggagawa para gumawa nito. Huwag nating kalimutan na 11 million ng mga Pilipino po nagtatrabaho rin sa iba't ibang bansa. Bakit? Dahil sa mga bansang ito, hindi sapat ang kanilang mga manggagawa. So sa akin po, kailangan magkaroon tayo ng inventaryo. Ano ba talagang kinakailangan natin sa build at anong kailangan ng mga pribadong sektor? Pag-aralan natin ilan ang available na market natin dito. Siyempre po, kinakailangan ang gobyerno mag-train ng mas maraming skilled and semi-skilled workers na kinakailangan natin dito. Pero kung talagang kulang, doon natin bigyan ng mga legal ng permits at kinakailangan ipatupad ang mga batas. Meron naman po mga palantutunan kung kailan nagpapayag tayo na mag-impleyo ng mga dayuhan. Isa po dyan ay walang Pilipino na kayang gawin ang trabahong yan. Importante na mapatupad yung batas na yan dahil kung hindi po, hindi mapapangalagaan talaga ang interes sa mga Pilipino.
Thank you, Secretary Roque. Audience, can we please request you to restrain your enthusiasm? Thank you very much. Let's go to Secretary Rojas.
No to Chinese workers coming in and replacing Filipinos. Wala naman. Anong pinag-uusapan natin dito? Sa construction, pagkakarpintero, pagtutubero, pagiging mason, kaya ng Pilipino yan. Maraming Pilipino ang may kayang gampanan yung trabaho yan. Sa mining, sa paghuhukay, maraming mga Pilipino, small scale, large scale, mga Pilipino kaya yan. Pati sa online gaming, para sa akin, hindi maganda na ang ating ekonomiya ay nakasandal sa pagsusugal. Kasi isipin natin, no? Ang dahilan kung bakit nandito yung mga online gaming na yan ay dahil ipinagbabawal sa China. Sila mismo. Illegal ito sa kanila. Bawal ito sa kanila. Kaya tayo ngayon ang nagtatrabaho dito. Ngayon, sandali lang. Last point, no? May mga kasunduan tayo sa pagitan ng Pilipinas at China na kung saan yung so-called official development ng China, bahagi ng kasunduan, may provision doon na nagsasabi dapat Chinese workers ang magtrabaho doon. Kung ganun ang tulong nila sa atin, yung ayuda, yung pautang nila sa atin, hindi na bale.
Thank you, Secretary Rojas.
Akala ko inunahan tayo ni Secretary Rojas sa yes or no question. All right. The next topic, also very important. It's about air traffic congestion. We'd like to hear from Nery Colmenares, Samira Gutok, and Erin Tanyada. Candidates, what is your proposed solution on air traffic congestion? Let's start with Congressman Nery Colmenares. Go ahead, sir.
Alam niyo po, nung nag-imbestiga kami dyan sa air traffic congestion, kasi may bill po ako dati, Magna Carta of Airline Passengers' Rights, na kung saan mahigpit talaga yung bira sa mga airline companies na nagdi-delay, nagka-cancel ng flight. Pag ma-delay ang flight mo ng 3 hours or more, dapat magbayad ka ng 10,000 sa mga biktima mo na mga pasahero. Ngayon, nag-investigate po kami sa airport niya. Nalaman namin ang traffic congestion. Sabi nila, sir, ang problem pala dito, sir, yung tarmac, nagpa-parallel. So, naghihintay yung isa bago Sino ba namang gago, to be honest about it and blunt, ang gagawa ng ganon? So, the traffic congestion ay nandyan sa design mismo. But more than that, yung ating transportation sa Pilipinas, hindi naman natin na-encourage yung pag-develop, syempre, ng infrastructure dun sa airport. So, sa akin, pwedeng ayusin yan at kung ilagay ang airport somewhere outside Metro Manila, kami, mga probinsyano kami, okay yan, dalhin doon. At pangatlo,
outside Metro Manila?
Well, it could be a province. Halimbawa, sa Metro Manila, it could be either somewhere in Central Luzon or Southern Tagalog na hindi naman malayo. Basta mag-provide ang gobyerno ng fast transportation from that airport to Metro Manila. Sa akin po, ang air traffic congestion ay isang problemang dapat lutasin at aksyonan ng gobyerno hindi bukas, kundi ngayon.
Ngayon. Samira Gutok, ma'am, go ahead.
Preparedness in Christmas time, in times of very congested flights, I think the ATO should be more prepared to deal with air traffic. I think the management should further be ready for this kind of holidays or these peak seasons. I also think that Subic and other locations where we can expand our airports is necessary. We should have our airport or planners look at alternative locations for airports as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Aaron Tanyada, go ahead, sir.
Alam mo, ang kailangan lang po dito, political will. As early as 1992, kailangan nakita na ng mga previous administration yung pangangailangan ng bagong airport sa isang bansang lumalaki ang populasyon. Eh hanggang ngayon nga, drawing pa rin. Mabuti nga ngayon merong mga drawing na gagawin ng Clark, gagawin ng sa May Cavite o gagawin sa Bulacan. Ang kailangan lang talaga, wag nang tignan ng sinumang pangulo na kailangan matatak sa pangalan na sila'y gumawa ng airport. Gawin na lang po nila yan. Kung anong administrasyon matatapos po yung airport na yan, basta yan po ay matugon yung problema po natin sa air traffic at dapat masiguro po ng ating mga ng ating opisyal sa gobyerno yung pagpunta ng mga mamamayan sa airport na yan.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right.
We have
Pia?
another yes or no question. Candidates, please prepare your signboards. The question is the media in this country under threat? Yes or no? Ang ganda ng audience reaction eh.
Yeah. Same as the last
Same.
question.
No from Rafi Alunan and Harry Roque, and yes from everyone else.
So, pareho sinagot nila kanina and ngayon. Pero iba yung question namin pero pare-pareho lang ang sagot. We're
And
live
as usual,
here.
ang sarap tanungin ng audience, ba't kaya kayo mag-react?
Maybe Nicole will have to ask that, right? We're live here at the Ateneo de Manila University. This is a CNN Philippines special presentation, our Senatorial Forum Part 2. We'll be right back.
For Congressman Nery Colmenares. Congressman Colmenares, the question is, do you think our president is asserting our sorry, that's the wrong question.
Ng gobyerno na i-accommodate ang China doon sa West Philippine Sea dahil pag inassert natin ang ating karapatan, giyera yan. Ang tanong ko kay President Duterte, saan ang aral niyan? Parang anecdotal masyado ang analysis na yan. Vietnam has been asserting the rights of the Vietnamese over the territories. Taiwan is asserting their rights. Giniera ba sila ng China? Tayo, we asserted that right in the tribunal. One of the highest na pagprotesta natin laban sa China, hindi tayo giniera ng China. Why? Because the international community will be with us. Bakit mo gigirahin yung isang bansa na nag-assert lang ng kanyang territorial rights dyan sa islands na yan? Nanalo pa nga yan sa tribunal eh. Tayo ang nanalo, astang talo tayo sa China. Kaya as early as 2008, nag-file na kami dyan sa Korte Suprema, joint exploration ni Gloria Arroyo at ng China, JMSU. Sinabi namin sa Korte Suprema, this is unconstitutional. This tramples our sovereignty. Bakit natin hayaan ng China mamamayagpag dyan? Millions of barrels of oil dyan. Billions of cubic meter of natural gas ang South China Sea. Malaking tulong yan sa atin. Pero lahat yan mawawala pag inassert ni President Duterte ang analysis niya na hayaan natin ang China doon. Ang independent foreign policy, hindi maka-Amerikano, hindi maka-Chino, dapat maka-Filipino.
Thank you, sir. Now we have a question from Godwin Monge, a second-year Master student here in Ateneo. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Your question is for?
My question is for Congressman Erin Tanyada. My question is, what are your thoughts on the U.S. not issuing 2 types of work visa for Filipinos?
Well, it is within their rights to do that because we have to recognize that the U.S. is a sovereign country. So if they intend to have that type of policy with regard to any citizen, then we have to respect it.
Thank you, sir.
Go ahead, Andre.
Okay, maybe one more. Okay, we have a question
Very
for?
fast one, please.
June, you have a question for who?
Kay Marojas. Nabanggit ni President Duterte na very receptive siya sa idea na government takeover sa Hanjin. Pabor po ba kayo dito? Or susuportahan niyo po ba ang president natin dito?
Well, sa akin, ang decision dyan, makikinabang ba ang Pilipino, no? Siyempre, kinakailangan bigyan ng tulong yung mawawalan ng trabaho dyan sa Hanjin, no? So I'm for giving them alternative sources of livelihood kung hindi natin na makukontinue operation ng Hanjin. Pero ang tutulak ko is, in the end, baka mamaya, nalulugi yan dahil talagang palugi yan at ipagpapatulog natin ang magbabayad ay yung sambayan ng Pilipino.
This is the CNN Philippines Senatorial Forum Part 2. We are joined here on stage by 7 senatorial aspirants.
So
Pinky.
here, Pia, is another yes or no question. I wonder if they're going to answer the same way again. The COMELEC proclaimed on Friday the ratification of the Bangsamoro Organic Law. Do you believe that the Bangsamoro Organic Law will help establish long-lasting peace and uplift the lives of our fellow Filipinos in Mindanao? Yes or no? Different answer
No
this
from
time
Mary
around.
Colmenares. Yes from everybody else. Our next question still on Mindanao. This is for Samira Gutok, Rafi Alunan, and Florin Hilbay. Just this morning, we had twin explosions in the cathedral in Jolo in Sulu. 27 dead, many more wounded. Is martial law justified in Mindanao? We'd like you to explain your answers, please. You have 1 minute and 30 seconds. Samira Gutok, you first.
No, it is not justified. We stood in Congress as an evacuee leader to cite incidents of human rights violations at certain instances and locations within Mindanao. There is no invasion. There is no lawless rebellion. There is a group of young people who took to the street to oppose what they felt was a warrant of arrest on their colleague, Hapilon. So we thought that there should be strengthening more of our peacekeeping measures. It should be an enforcement by the PNP, the military that should be taken to task. Hindi po kailangan ng malawakang martial law. At ang ibang areas naman sa Mindanao ay addressed ang kanilang peace at order. So I feel that martial law is uncalled for. We have a freedom of press. It should be guaranteed. The right to liberty and motion should be guaranteed. And it is under threat under martial law.
Thank you, Samira. Secretary Alunan.
Well, first of all, martial law is favored by the people of Mindanao. And they consider it as a...
Let's give Secretary Alunan a chance to explain. Go ahead, sir.
And they consider it a preventive measure because Mindanao still has many threats: banditry, terrorism, insurgency. To the right of Mindanao, from the middle of Mindanao to the right, you have the NPA. To the left of Mindanao, you have the insurgency, as well as terrorism, as well as ISIS-related organizations. As you can see, Marawi is Exhibit A. And what happened in Jolo is another case in point. I think to the extent that the people of Mindanao are comfortable, are safe and secure because of martial law, then let's grant it to Mindanao, to the people of Mindanao. The important thing is that martial law in Mindanao is not the same as the martial law of the Marcos era. It's very, very different. These guys are laid back. They prevent. They act to prevent act of terrorism, and if necessary, use every force to crush, to deter, detect, and crush threats against the public safety and security of the people.
Thank you, sirs. Florin Hilbay.
Ang ating presidente at kahit sinong presidente ay may kontrol sa sandatahang lakas natin at kayang rumisponde sa kahit anong problema nang hindi nagdedeklara ng martial law. Si President Erap, pinasok niya ang Camp Abu Bakar, nagsampa ba siya, nagdeklara ba siya ng batas militar? Hindi. Si Presidente Aquino, Zamboanga Siege, Sulu Siege, nagdeklara ba siya ng batas militar? Hindi. No? Ang pagdedeklara ng batas militar ay usaping legal at constitutional. Hindi komportable ba ang mga tao doon sa lugar na yon o hindi. Noong 2017, nagdeklara ng batas militar, in-extend sa kadulu-duluhan ng 2017. Noong 2018, in-extend ang batas militar. Kahit na sinabi na tapos na ang giyera, nagsampa kami ng kaso sa Korte Suprema, tinanong ang the Armed Forces of the Philippines, do you need martial law? Ang sabi ng AFP, we don't need martial law. Sa harap ng mga miyembro ng Korte Suprema, hindi natin kailangan ng batas militar. And it doesn't demean the power of the President to use the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Walang kinalaman sa solusyon ang problema. Yun ang problema natin.
Thank you, Florin Hilbay.
Our next question is for Nery Colmenares, Harry Roque, and Erin Tanyada. You did answer this a while ago, sir. Napaka-importante para sa mga manggagawa nitong tanong na to. But it's a question from the Kilusang Mayo Uno, which they emailed to us. Ano po ang tindig ng mga senatorial sa pagkakaroon ng national minimum wage? Congressman Colmenares, you go first, sir.
Nag-file na po kami ng isang national minimum wage bill sa ilang termino ko sa Kongreso. Bakit? Dapat po may minimum wage itaas ang sahod. Walang question dyan. 537 pesos sa NCR, saan ka pupulutin nun? But more than that, dapat dapat pantay ang sahod sa buong bansa. Bakit? Ang presyo ba dito ng kung anong bilihin dyan sa SM North o sa Ayala, magkaiba sa presyo ng SM North o Ayala sa ibang probinsya. Mataas pa nga minsan ang gasolina doon. The inflation rate in many regions are practically higher, if not the same, ng NCR. So bakit mas mataas ang sahod sa NCR, mababa ang sa probinsya? Dapat po pantay-pantay patas ang sahod sa National Minimum Wage Law. At hindi kami sang-ayon sa regionalization ng wages. Ang hirap ng buhay sa probinsya, bibigyan mo lang. Ilocos is one of the lowest. In fact, parang 300 plus pesos ang minimum wage sa Ilocos. Sa ibang probinsya sa Bicol o sa Mindanao, all these talk about mas mababa dapat ang sahod sa mga probinsya. Hindi po kami sang-ayon yan. At isa yan sa mga ifa-file kong bill kung sakaling pala rin ako sa Senado, isang wage national, pantay-pantay, mataas sa buong bansa.
Ano po yung amount? Very quickly, sir. What amount are you thinking of?
Well, ang aming proposal sa bill is 750 pesos minimum wage per day po.
Secretary Harry Roque, you're up, sir.
Well, pabor din po ako sa isang national minimum wage. No? Naniniwala po ako na unang-una, ang papel ng ng ating gobyerno ay para pangalagaan talaga ang manggagawa. Tapos na po yung mga panahon na iniisip natin na pareho po ang lagay ng mga manggagawa at mga employers. Nakasaad na po sa desisyon ng Korte Suprema na talagang hindi sila po magiging pantay at sa ating saligang batas talagang papanig po ang gobyerno para sa mga manggagawa. So ang importante po, malaman natin kung anong tamang minimum wage na hindi naman po makakaapekto doon sa mga namumuhunan at ang importante rin po, siguraduhin natin na yung inflation o yung pagtaas ng presyo ay pantay-pantay sa buong Pilipinas.
Thank you. Congressman Erin Tanyada.
Maraming salamat, Pinky. Kagaya na sinabi ko kanina, I'm in favor of a review of the wage structure in our country. Dahil alam naman po natin, pag tumaas ang presyo ng langis, nationwide. Pag tumaas ang presyo ng bigas, nationwide. Kapag tumaas ang presyo ng kuryente, kung minsan mas mahal pa sa probinsya kaysa Metro Manila. Hindi naman nag-iiba ang pagtaas ng presyo ng langis kung ikaw ay nasa Region 6, Region 5, o Region 9. Lahat po yan epektado ng pagtaas ng presyo ng mga bilihin. Kaya importanteng tignan po natin kung makatarungan pa ba ang paggamit ng Regional Wage Board sa pagtakta ng minimum wage. Sa tingin ko po, hindi na makatarungan yan at kailangan po natin buksan ang pag-uusap tungkol dito para mahanap po natin ang disenteng sweldo para sa lahat.
Alright. Matutuwa sila sa sagot ng tatlong senatorial candidates natin. Thank you, gentlemen.
Another yes or no question. Candidates, and this is on divorce. Should divorce be legal on grounds of abuse or irreconcilable differences? Yes or no? Yes for everyone.
Unanimous. Finally.
Next, we're going to ask our senatorial candidates about data privacy that's been in the news a lot these last few weeks.
And of course, you can join our conversation through Facebook and Twitter. Just use the hashtag #TheFilipinoVotes. We will be right back. Stay tuned.
Our fact-checking team backstage is fielding questions from social media, and they have been verifying accounts from questions who come from an overwhelming number of suspicious, fake-looking accounts. And we argue that this can be considered as early campaigning or organized media manipulation. So our question to our candidates is, what do you think of this campaign strategy?
The question is for
any of the candidates. What do they think?
Harry?
Okay.
Ako? Yes.
The question can be answered by any of the candidates. Their thoughts about unverified or fake accounts on social media asking questions in this debate.
Well, ang tingin ko po dyan, may pananagutan yung mga intermediaries, no, na kontrolin kung ano yung mga impormasyon na pinapakalat nila, no. Ako po ay para sa malayang pananalita, pero at the same time, dahil kumikita naman yung mga providers na yan, at saka yung mga Facebook at iba pang mga forums, no, silang dapat magsiguro na hindi nagagamit ang teknolohiya at ang kanilang mga negosyo para sa mga fake news.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Nicole. Now we have a question again from one of our audience members. She is Ina Chua from Ateneo School of Government, taking up Masters in Public Management. Your question is for?
Sir Secretary Rafi Alunan. Hi, sir. Good afternoon. With the success of Boracay rehabilitation last year, how could we replicate this in the rehabilitation of Manila Bay, considering that more than 50,000 families who are informal settlers are living within or along the Manila Bay?
Okay, well, the local governments have a lot to do here in terms of moving out our informal settlers. Alam mo naman, ang ating informal settlers ay ginagamit ng mga local government units, especially during election time. And so it's something that we have to address forcefully. Number two, when we move them out, we have to make sure that yung mga areas where they will be placed may means of transportation at meron silang means of livelihood doon. Number three, tourism development in Manila Bay requires the cooperation of the citizenry in developing the area and making sure na walang kalat, walang tapon ng basura dito. Because after all, ang sinasabi, landscape reflects mindscape. Kung magulo at madumi yung landscape, that means magulo din ang pag-iisip ng mga tao doon sa komunidad na yon. So we need to look at tourism development from a different standpoint because tourism is a shared responsibility.
Thank you, Secretary
Thank you.
Luna.
Thank you, sir. All right, just a couple of seconds. We're about to go live again on air. We are asking our 7 senatorial candidates the questions that most of us want to find out. This is a CNN Philippines special presentation.
This next question will be about our country's third telco player. We'd like the following candidates to answer this question: Mar Rojas, Rafi Alunan, and Harry Roque. During the Senate investigation into the country's third telco, Senate Minority Leader Frank Drilon said Ms. Latel's franchise should be deemed void since it failed to operate as required within a year from the grant of franchise in April 1998. Congressional franchise was one of the issues raised. The change of ownership without congressional approval was another. Our question is, should the government review the provisional third telco rights given to Ms. Latel, or should a new round of bidding be conducted? Secretary Rojas.
If the question is, do we want a third telco in our country? The answer is yes. More competition, better service, lower cost to the consumer. Should it be this particular telco? Well, the evidence and the compliance with our rules on franchises should determine that. No? Ang mahalaga sa akin ay serbisyo para sa ating mga mamamayan. You don't know this, but there are nearly 1 million Filipinos na naghahanap buhay sa pamamagitan ng internet, dagdag pa doon sa mga call centers at IT BPO. These are Filipinos who teach English, who edit manuscripts, who write research papers, and the like, na ang kanilang pamamagitan para ma-access ang kanilang mga customer ay sa internet. They work from home. Hindi na sila dagdag doon sa problema sa traffic. Ang kanilang pangangailangan ay access to the internet. Ito yung pinaka-pamamaraan nila para ma-fulfill nila yung kanilang serbisyo na binabayad sa kanila. Bilyong-bilyong dolyar ang ibinabayad sa kanila. 1 milyong mga Pilipino na naghahanap buhay na dyan. Ang mahalaga ay maayos na internet. Ang internet sa atin ngayon, we are number 88 sa mundo. Nasa kulela tayo. More competition is better for all of us.
Thank you, Secretary Rojas. Secretary Alunan.
Yes, I agree. We need to open up the market. We need competition. We need to improve the quality of service. We need to bring down the cost of service to the consumer. As has been said already, we're paying very high prices for very poor service. So a third telco is necessary. But whether it is this telco or not depends on the rules. Did they meet the criteria? If they didn't meet the criteria, then it should be reviewed. And if they still won't meet the criteria, then it should be rebidden.
Thank you, Secretary Alunan. Secretary Roque.
Well, importante po ang third telco dahil sawang-sawa na tayo sa hindi nakakarinigan na tawagan, sawang-sawa na tayo sa bigla na lang napuputol, pagdating ng 3 minutes nawawala na, at sawang-sawa na po tayo sa kabila ng palpak na serbisyo ng dalawang telcos natin, napakataas naman ang ating binabayaran. No? Kinakailangan din natin mas mabilis at mas reliable na internet service. Kaya nga po, pabor na pabor ako na magkaroon ng telco. Now, siyempre po, dahil nais natin magkaroon ng mas mabuting telco service provider, importante na pumili tayo ng pangatlong telco na may kakayahan na magbigay ng mas mabuting serbisyo. Ganun pa man, ang akin lang is tignan po natin, tama ba ang sinasabi ni Senator Drilon? Dahil siyempre po, no, isipin natin, sino bang magkaka-interest na wag makapasok ang third telco? Sa akin, papasukin ng third telco, reviewin natin na sila makakabigay ng mas mabuting serbisyo at hindi natin hahadlangan lamang yung pagnanais ng buong bayan na magkaroon ng mas maraming competitors para mabigyan ng mas mabuting serbisyo ang ating mga mamamayan.
Thank you, Secretary Roque.
All right, late last year, the Senate and the House ratified the Cancer Control Bill that will establish a national framework to combat the disease. Among other things, it will provide affordable cancer treatment to Filipinos. This is a question from the Philippines Alliance of Patient Organization, which actually represents at least 1 million patients. We'd like to hear from Florin Hilbay, Mar Rojas, and Rafi Alunan. How would you fund the Cancer Control Bill? We start with Florin Hilbay.
Sa akin, ang problema sa ating gobyerno is yung underspending. Kaya pag merong underspending, lahat yan ay nako-convert into savings. Laging may pera ang ating gobyerno. It's a question of how you prioritize the problems for government. Ang amin pong pamilya ay nagkaroon ng problema sa cancer noong mga nakaraang taon. It's very corrosive dun sa environment ng family. It's very emotionally draining. I cannot imagine kung gaano katindi yung nararamdaman ng iba't ibang pamilya na dumadaan at may dumadaan sa cancer, pati yung kanilang kaibigan, pati yung kanilang mga kamag-anak. It's a necessity. We don't need to think about where to fund it. The government should find it regardless. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Secretary Mar Rojas, go ahead, sir.
Ang cancer ay isang sakit na pamilyar ako. Namatay ang dad ko sa cancer, namatay ang kapatid ko na si Dinggoy sa cancer. At doon nagsimula yung aking pagtutok sa cheaper medicines dahil nakita ko kung gaano kamahal magkasakit dito sa ating bansa. Nagawa na natin yan sa cheaper medicines. May magagawa pa tayo dito sa cancer bill. Unang-una, saan tayo kukuha ng pera? Dito sa buwis mula sa tabako at saka sa alak. Diyan tayo pwede kumuha ng pera. Pangalawa, dapat gamitin ng gobyerno yung kanyang kapangyarihan, yung kanyang buying power to purchase at lower prices. Alam natin lahat yan. Kahit yung pinakamusmus na bata, alam nila yan. Mas mura kung maramihan kaysa sa kakaunti na o tingi na pagbili. Ang gobyerno natin pwedeng gamitin tulad ng ginagawa sa India, tulad ng ginagawa sa Canada, sa Australia, sa iba pang mga bansa where there's a nationalized health system, ang gobyerno magsasabi, bibili kami ng 1 million doses nito or 1 million tablets na yon. So ngayon, international na ang bidding dyan, bakbakan sa presyo, bababa ang presyo, at sa ganon, dekalidad ang matatanggap natin.
Let's hear from Secretary Alunan.
Thank you. Nasa budgeting yan eh. We should give health costs, healthcare, universal healthcare, priority sa budgeting. Just like, for example, science and technology. Meron tayong batas to provide 1 or 2% per GDP, but hindi na natutupad yon. We should do the same for universal healthcare and focus on the top 10 diseases, to include cancer, diabetes, etc. But in addition to that, I think we need to also lower the cost of medicines and generate more professionals to provide the necessary health care, especially the doctors and the technicians, to address cancer. I also have a problem, not just with cancer. I also have a problem with other cases like autism, like PWDs. I don't think there's any budget that's being set aside for them. I would like to set aside a budget for PW one-stop shop centers, aside from anti-cancer centers, through proper budgeting.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. From one health question to another, our next yes or no question is about medical marijuana. Candidates, please prepare your signboards. The question is, should medical marijuana be legalized for ailments such as cancer, multiple sclerosis, seizures, and serious chronic pain? Yes or no?
Yes or no?
Yes, for everybody.
Again, a unanimous answer, Pia.
We are down to the last few questions. This is a CNN Philippines special presentation, our Senatorial Forum Part 2. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
And your question is for?
Ms. Samira Gutok. Hi, I'm Nathan. We know that women experience catcalls, molestation, rape, and other acts of sexual violence every day. And their experiences are continuously ignored by our citizens, police, military, government, and our president. How would you create a safer country for women?
Of course, it's not just the VAUSI that should be fully enforced. We believe that VAUSI also penalizes emotional violence against our partners, against our wives. We should also pass laws that would penalize catcalls. We should not allow rape jokes in our society by the leaderships. We should not... Rape jokes by anybody should be called to task. I feel very strongly that words can even cut harder, so that men, we should be more sensitive, and I feel that the next Senate should have more pro-women candidates. Super.
Thank you, Mr. Mira Gutok. Thank you, Nathan, for that question. Now let's go to Nicole and get more questions from social media. Nicole?
Yes, we've been getting a lot of questions about federalism. So we'd like to ask former Solicitor General Florine Hilbay, what is your stand on the proposed shift to a federal form of government?
Halos 2 taon na po akong nagle-lecture sa iba't ibang lugar para ipasabi na tutol ako doon sa paglipat sa isang federal na sistema. Unang-una yung problema ng gastos. Ayon sa gobyerno, 243 billion yung gagastusin. That's a very expensive project na hindi natin alam kung may mangyayari o wala. Pangalawa, yung necessity. Hindi ko naiisip na kailangan mo buksan yung ating saligang batas para ma-accomplish yung pag-create ng mga economic centers. Kung gusto talaga lang gumawa ng 18 rehiyon, amyendahan yung local government code kung gusto lang puwersahin. Imbis na 18 rehiyon na pinapalta mo yung saligang batas, 18 probinsya na malalaki. So mababawasan yung politiko, hindi madadagdagan. Pangatlo, yung problema ng motibo, lahat ng presidente na seryosong sinubukang buksan ang saligang batas did it for term extension. And I have a big problem with presidents who don't want to comply with the contract they signed with the Filipino people. Kung hanggang 2022 ka lang, dapat sundin mo yun.
Okay, stand by. Everybody, we're down to our last 2 questions. 2 tanong na lang po. Ihintayin lang natin si Secretary Mar Rojas.
Ito na.
Si Secretary
Harry
Roque. Paging, sir. We have a couple of seconds left. Okay. May time pa siya, Pia. Anyway, last 2 questions.
Yeah, we
to our
have
candidates.
We have to drop several questions, 2 or 3 to accommodate everything. All right, we're just waiting for Secretary Harry Roque. We'll be back on the air in about 25 seconds. We just have 2 questions left and a final, one last, that's repetitive. One final question after those 2 questions. We are live at the Ateneo de Manila University with 7 senatorial candidates who want to serve in the 18th Congress. Thank you, candidates, for joining us today. We move on to the issue of data privacy. Maraming balita tungkol dyan. Too many people know too much about us, and it's not because of oversharing on social media, I suppose. Let's have Nery Colmenares Erin Tanyada and Harry Roque answer this question. We see the continued expansion of e-commerce and rapid technological advancements all over the world, but data protection is a big challenge. What can the Senate do to encourage technological innovation while protecting our privacy? Nery Colmenares first.
Well, ang issue ng data privacy has always been an issue for us human rights lawyers. In fact, I lecture sa mandatory continuing legal education for lawyers ng writ of habeas data. Kasi ang tingin namin napakahalaga po niyan. Para sa akin, if gather ng mga big companies yung information about you, wala naman akong ginawang masama, but ayaw kong maibigay sa kanila yung mga private details ko. Example lang recently, ang profiling ng ACT Teachers Party List. Sabi nila, kung wala ka namang tinatago, dapat okay ka na i-inform kung ano ang data mo. Nung final po namin dati, pinapanukala namin sa Kongreso, buksan ang mga bank accounts ng lahat ng mga politiko, congressman, senador, public officials. Ayaw nilang buksan. Sabi namin, akala ko yung argument na dyan, kung wala kayong tinatago, okay lang na buksan. Yun po ang issue dito. So, ang panukala ko talaga dyan is more of, sa akin, implementation yan actually. Yung pag-implement, yung ginagamit yung government resources to go after information ng mga opposition, I disagree with that vehemently. Go after the data and information on major personalities in the Philippines. And I also disagree itong pag-farm out sa mga big business ng information ng mamamayan for their commercial purposes. Yan po ang matunog na sagot natin sa data privacy. Dapat suportahan yan.
Thank you, Congressman Colmenares. Congressman Tanyada.
Maraming salamat, Pia. Ang kailangan po natin gawin, kailangan ipabalik po natin yung mga magagaling po nating mga computer technicians and internet experts po natin. Ang problema po natin, hindi po natin binabayaran ng tama yung ating mga experts sa computers para protektahan ang data ng ating bansa. Kung titignan nga po natin, meron pong lumabas na balita, hindi naman pala totoo na nagkaroon po ng data leak sa Department of Foreign Affairs. At kailangan po natin tignan ano ba yung protocols na sinusundan ng ating gobyerno tungkol sa pagmamanage at pag-store ng ating mga private data. Kaya kung titignan nga po natin, mahina pa rin po ang ating imbita sa mga magagaling po nating mga computer programmers at tingin ko panahon na kung tayo po ay talagang gustong magkaroon ng isang secure na bansa sa usapin ng data, bayaran po natin ng tama ang ating mga computer programmers.
Thank you, Congressman Tanyada. Secretary Roque.
Well, importante po talaga ang data privacy dahil ang pinagmumulan po niyan yung karapatang pantao to be secure in one's privacy na nasa saligang batas. Isa po tayo sa mga nagreklamo na laban doon sa COMELEC at nagkaroon po ng desisyon ng National Privacy Commission na nagsasabi na naging pabaya ang COMELEC at dapat managot at ito ngayon naging dahilan para maging isa to sa mga basihan para ma-impeach yung dating COMELEC chairman na Andres Bautista. Now, ang tanong is, anong dapat gawin sa Senado? Well, meron na po tayong batas. Doon po sa batas na binuo natin na tinutulang ko yung provision sa libel, pinaparusahan naman po doon yung hacking. At hacking po talaga ang pinagmumulan ng problema pagdating sa sa privacy implementation. So, ang sa akin po, importante na ang Senado will focus on yung ensuring na lahat ng number one, opisina ng gobyerno ay sumusunod doon sa batas. Ngayon po nalalaman natin, ang mga lumalabag sa batas ay COMELEC. Pangalawa, DFA. Bakit mga gobyernong opisina pa ang hindi nakakasunod doon sa National Privacy Act? Tingin ko po isang dapat yan na tignan ng ating pamahalaan at bilang isang mambabatas, tignan po natin kung makakabigay tayo ng incentives doon sa mga kumpanya na magbibigay pa ng teknolohiya para lalo pang maprotektahan ang data ng mga mamamayan.
Thank you. All right, we're down to our last question, our final question to our candidates, and I would welcome any one of you'd like to stand and address the audience, get closer to them, please do so. The question is, if successful in the midterm elections, what would be your priority legislation? This time, We're going to start with Congressman Erin Tanyada down the line. Congressman, you go first.
Maraming salamat, Pinky, at sa CNN sa pagkakataon na binigay po ninyo sa akin. Ang unang importanteng kailangan bigyan ng pansin at kung ako ay papalarin na maging senador, ay usapin ng sweldo. Dahil alam nga po natin, tumataas po ang presyo ng mga bilihin sa ating bansa at itong usapin ng sweldo ang isang susi kung paano haharapin ng ating mga manggagawa at empleyado itong pagtaas ng presyo ng mga bilihin. Ang tanong, makatarungan pa ba ang ginagamit na regional wage boards sa pagtakda ng sweldo dito sa ating bansa? Sinabi ko nga kanina, pag tumaas po ang presyo ng langis, nationwide. Kapag tumaas po ang presyo ng bigas, nationwide. Kapag tumaas po ang presyo ng kuryente, kung minsan mas mahal po ang presyo ng kuryente sa probinsya kaysa sa Metro Manila. And yet, kung titignan nga po natin, ang minimum wage po dito sa Metro Manila ay mas mataas sa iba't ibang mga region. Kung bibigyan po tayo ng pagkakataon, sisilipin po natin, malay ba ho natin, itong usapin ng minimum wage ay pwedeng maging susi rin sa problema ng trapiko dito sa ating bansa. Dahil kung pantay-pantay na po ang sweldo sa buong Pilipinas, marami pong masusolusyonan ito.
That's Congressman Erin Tanyada. Maraming salamat, sir. Next, let's go to Secretary Mar Rojas.
Magandang hapon at maraming salamat muli sa inyong lahat. No? Malinaw sa akin yung misyon na tatahakin ko. Tutulong sa pagpapalago ng ekonomiya. Dito nakasandal ang lahat ng pamilyang Pilipino. Unang-una, i-repeal ko, hahain ako ng panukala para ma-repeal ang probisyon sa paglalagay ng buwis sa produktong petrolyo na nakapaloob sa Train 1 at Train 2. Simpleng-simple lang po yan. Alam natin na domino effect yan. Pag nagmahal ang transportasyon, nagmamahal lahat ng pangunahing bilihin. Pangalawa po, tututulan ko yung kilos ng Department of Finance na tanggalin ang mga incentives na siyang nag-iimbita o nag-aalok para mga investor ay dito magtayo ng kanilang mga pabrika, ng mga pagawaan. Paano tayo lilikha ng trabaho kung ang mga investors ay hindi natin i-welcome dito? Dapat swabe silang makapasok dito, ayusin natin yung mga red tape, lumabas yung pagkabisaya ko, red tape, ang mga red tape para nang sa ganon, mas mabilis silang makapaglikha ng trabaho dito sa ating bansa. At pangatlo po, yung sa internet. Napakahalaga po. Ito yung highway ng sa ngayon at bukas. Kung dati may kalye, ngayon internet. Napakahalaga po na pilitin natin itong mga telcos sa pamamagitan ng kanilang mga prangkisa na pabilisin ang kanilang internet, ayusin ang kanilang serbisyo.
Maraming salamat, Secretary Mar Rojas. Up next, ayan na po. Secretary Harry Roque, go ahead.
Maraming salamat po sa CNN at nagkaroon tayo ng ganitong pagpupulong. Importante po na malaman ng taong bayan kung ano talaga ang mga posisyon ng mga kandidato sa mga importanteng issue na humaharap sa atin. Anong gagawin natin? Unang-una po, bagamat 16 na buwan lang tayo nanilbihan sa Kongreso, sisiguraduhin po natin yung mga nais sa batas natin ay mapatupad ng tama. Nandyan po yung universal healthcare, libreng paggamot at paggamot sa kauna-unahang pagkakataon ng ating kasaysayan. Importante po gamitin ang oversight function ng Senado para masiguro na ang korupsyon ay hindi maging hadlang para magkaroon ng libreng paggamot at paggamot ang lahat. Importante rin po na bantayan yung implementasyon ng ating sinulong na batas na libreng tanghalian sa ating mga kabataan at saka libreng irigasyon. Yung libreng tanghalian po, hayaan nyo po ngayon, hindi lahat ng kabataan ay napapakain. Yung mga nagugutom lamang. Pero susubukan po natin, palawakin pang programang ito pag tayo nakarating ng sulado, dapat lahat ng estudyante sa elementarya kasama ang high school magkaroon po ng libreng tanghalian. Nandyan din po yung irigasyon. Ang problema po, bagamat libre na po ang irigasyon, ang kailangan po, doblehin po natin ang irigasyon pa sa bayang ito. Pag ako po'y nandun na sa Senado, unang ipa-file natin, zero hunger bill. Dapat wala nang nagugutom sa Pilipinas sa loob ng 10 taon. Salamat po.
Thank you, Secretary Harry Roque. Florine Hilbay, you're up next.
Ang pinapangako ko po sa inyo pag ako'y naging senador, you will have a statesman, not a crass politician. You will have a statesman who will try to unite and not divide. You will have a statesman who will try to uplift the lives of Filipinos and not demean their status. Ako po ay isang batang tundo. Ang nanay ko po ay isang graduate ng grade 6 at dating kasambahay. Naiisip ko po, ang pinakasimpleng batas na pwedeng nating ipasa ay 4 Ps na pangmalawakan para hindi lamang sa mahirap, kundi para sa nakagraduate, para sa mga walang trabaho. Kaya ang sinasabi ko po, ang 4 Ps ay pilo para sa pamilyang Pilipino. Nakikita ko po ang estado ng mga taga-Tondo, yan ang estado ng karamihan sa ating mga mamamayan. Kung ikaw ay nakalubog sa putik ng kahirapan, hindi ka makagalaw. Kailangan kang iangat ng kaunti ng ating pamahalaan. At yun ang trabaho ng ating pamahalaan, ang magbukas ng oportunidad, magbukas ng mga pintuan para sa mga nasa laylayan. Kung nanay ko po pwedeng tumakbong senador, siya dapat ang tumakbo dahil magiging magaling siyang senador. Ngunit hindi po niya kayang tumakbo, kaya ako na lang po ang tatakbo para sa kanya. Salamat po.
Thank you, Floor by Samira Gutok.
Inspiration. Inspiration does not only come from leaderships. Inspiration and motivation does not only come from political people or leaders or those elected. Mine is an acceptance that we, the people, we, yung mga maliliit at inechipwera ng ating lipunan, ay kasama po. Paano po? Peace education starts from the primary level where young children learn to accept that they can make things change. They can accept other tribal peoples as their classmates. They can actually read books that make of history, that they're not just about our Catholic nation, but also of our ethnicities and various identities of 7,100 islands. Peace education makes us appreciate the diversity of our country. Iba-ibang tao, iba't ibang kulay. Ang sabi ni Pocahontas, you think the only people who are people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew. You'll never knew. Peace education. Peace education guarantees children against bullying. Peace education guarantees a population not sleeping against rape jokes by some of our elites. Peace education reminds us of decency and respect. Peace education ensures that we are Filipino and our values are not erased. Peace education.
Thank you, Samira Guto. Congressman Nery Colmenares.
Ang sabi ko kanina, kaya ako tumakbo sa pagkasenador dahil nais ko pong ituloy ang laban sa Kongreso doon sa Senado. Pag mahalal po ako sa Senado, isang batas malinaw, nire-repeal ang VAT sa kuryente, tubig at langis at ang excise tax ng train law. Walang patumpik-tumpik po na batas na nagbabawal sa kontraktualisasyon. Ang tatay ko po, security guard. Pero dahil hindi pa uso yung kontraktualisasyon noon, regular siya, na-promote siya, in the end, nung nag-retire siya, loan appraiser siya ng bangko. Pwede naman pala. Kaya isang batas na walang patumpik-tumpik nagbabawal sa kontraktualisasyon. Isang batas na nagsasaad ng mataas na sahod at hindi lang mataas na sahod, dapat national minimum wage para lahat ng manggagawa sa buong Pilipinas tataas ang kanilang sahod. Pensyon po, na-file ko po, nilaban ko sa Kongreso. Ang sabi nila, Nery, 2,000 dagdag sa SSS pension, suntok yan sa buwan. Mahilig po ako magsuntok sa buwan kasi paano mo naman masuntok ang buwan kung hindi ka susuntok? Dito sa Senado, susuntukin natin ang buwan muli, pensyon sa lahat ng senior citizens sa Pilipinas. Naging kakampi po ako ng mamayan doon sa Kongreso, maging kakampi ako ng mamamayan doon sa Senado.
Congressman Colmenares, salamat po. Secretary Alunan.
The question is, what would I do when I reach the Senate? What would be the first bill that I would file? Well, that will stem from my platform, which goes this way. Build the nation, protect the people, secure the country, and sustain the effort. The first bill, in terms of building the nation, will have to do with educational reform, especially values formation. We have to bring back ethics in our daily life. We've lost it, and we've lost it. That's why we have to recover it in our institutions and by making sure that our families instill the proper values in our people. That's educational reform. The second has to do with the mismatch of education. We're churning out people that are not required by the 21st century, so we have to adjust our curriculum. Number two, protect the people through reforming the criminal justice system, because there are many scalawags in this criminal justice system. Number three, when we talk about protecting the people, we also include those who don't have the means to protect themselves, especially the old, the infirm, the retirees, the veterans, and those that suffer from disabilities. And number four, when we talk about secure the country, we're talking about improving and strengthening the armed forces of the Philippines, because diplomacy means nothing unless we have a strong means of securing ourselves. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Secretary Alunan. To our candidates today, thank you very much for participating in today's senatorial forum. Ladies and gentlemen, here are your 7 senatorial aspirants joining us in the Filipino Votes, this senatorial forum. Please join us here, sir.
One by one.
Raffy Alunan, Secretary Raffy Alunan, Congressman Nery Colmenares, sir, Samira Gutok,
Florin Hilbay, Harry Roque, Mar Rojas, and of course, Erin Tanyada. To our candidates, maraming salamat for giving us your time, and we hope to see you in our debate in
senatorial debate in April.
I'm Pinky Webb.
And I'm Pia Ontiveros. Thank you very much, audience. Thank you, Ateneo de Manila. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
Good evening. You're still watching CNN Philippines special presentation. I'm Ruth Cabal. We have just concluded the second part of our senatorial forum. 7 senatorial aspirants in this year's midterm elections: former Interior Secretary Raffy Alunan, former Bayan Muna Party List Representative Nery Colmenares, former Bangsamoro Transition Committee member Samira Gutok, former Solicitor General Florin Hilbay, former presidential spokesman Harry Roque, former Senator Mar Rojas, and former Quezon Representative Erin Tanyada. They all weighed in on the current issues the country is facing. Former Senator Mar Rojas, former Congressman Nery Colmenares, and former Interior Secretary Raffy Alunan give their take on the controversy on lowering of age of criminal responsibility. Here are their answers.
When I was new in Congress, I conducted a seminar for my fellow congressmen and arguing that no one should support the lowering of age of criminal liability to age 9. However, I am supportive of lowering the age to 12. Why? As a professor of international law, the Committee on the Rights of the Child, which is an authoritative group of distinguished persons, have recommended that the minimum age should be 12. It should not be below 12.
Alam nyo, simple lang ito eh. 18 years old bago ka pwedeng bumoto. 18 years old bago pwede kang uminom ng alak. 18 years old bago ka pwedeng pumasok sa ating armed forces. 18 years old ang age of majority. Bakit natin paparusahan? Bakit natin ikukulong ang mga kabataan sa mas murang edad, sa 12 o kaya sa 9? Para sa akin, hayaan natin yung kasalukuyang batas, suportahan natin ng todo at tingnan talaga natin kung kulang ito. At sa ganun, doon tayo maghain ng mga proposals para baguhin ito. The law as it exists right now has not worked to its full extent. So pondohan natin, suportahan natin, at ilagay natin sa tama.
I think we're forgetting the most essential part of the problem here, which is prevention. Whether you're talking of 18 years old or 15 years old or 12 or 9, the important thing is for the parents to be very much involved in protecting their young and making sure that they don't get into trouble. I think that whether the age limit is lowered to 12 or 9, I think the parents should be held accountable. There is already a law that holds the parents accountable, but I don't know whether it's being implemented. In the United States, there is a law that heavily penalizes parents who are neglectful of their responsibilities and parental obligations. Now, I also understand that there are juvenile centers already in place. There are 57 all over the country. There should be 114, and the local government units are the ones in charge. Unfortunately, they're not doing a very good job. And I think this is a good opportunity for civil society to come in and help their governments, because in so doing, they'll help themselves, and they'll help the youth at risk and in conflict.
So who do you think stood out and why? Still with me here in the studio are Pulse Asia Research Director Ana Tabunda and University of Santo Tomas Political Science Department Chair Dennis Coronacion. Top of mind lang muna, mabilis lang muna. Sino sa tingin nyo?
Well, I think everyone stood out, except that, of course, there's some senatorial candidates whose answers one can easily remember because of their answers. So I think Marojas should be there, and Colmenares should also be, his answers are to be noted.
Ana?
I think many stood out in different ways. And I think the show was very good in drawing out the strengths of each of the candidates, and which is why it is difficult to say just who stood out. But definitely, Senator or Secretary Marojas showed ease and showed a greater ability to connect with the audience or the intended audience.
Parang yung message niya, I'm back. Parang ganun yung dating ni Marojas.
Komportable siya.
No?
Komportable siya sa entablado. Meron siyang ways of getting their attention. But the answers of the others, they were also good. Also Marojas' answers, they stood out in several ways, and I think the questions were good.
Yung sinabi mo lang kanina, Dennis, Marojas and Colmenares, anong naalala mo talagang nag-stand out dun sa mga sagot nila?
Well, kay Marojas, yung mga sagot niya tungkol sa mga economic issues, like yung solution sa inflation, alam mo na nanggagaling ito sa kanyang karanasan at sa kanyang educational background at professional background. So makikita mo na realistic, posibleng mangyari. Si former Congressman Colmenares naman, makikita mo na iba ang kanyang pinanggagalingan, hindi pro-government. At malalaman mo na may mga basihan rin naman ito. Halimbawa dito, yung kanyang proposal kung paano maayos yung problema sa traffic natin. At ang sabi niya, kasi privatize natin halos lahat dito sa bansang to, including the transportation, which is supposedly in other countries. Transportation is a public, is a government's function.
Ana, ikaw, naalala ko kay Marojas, yung tumayo siya tapos yung may sinabi siya about yung dun sa rice, kung paano ipapababa yung presyo ng rice. That's the part na tumayo siya na sinabi niya, murang paulit pautang sa mga farmers and then post-harvest facilities. What do you remember about yung answers ni Maroja, sabi mo?
Ang nag-aalala ko lang is nakikita mo, well, not just in the case of Mark, pati siya kay Rafi Alunan. Nakikita mo yung they're coming from their experience as department secretaries of various departments. So meron silang mga particular advocacies. Definitely si former Secretary Rafi Alunan is concerned about security.
Yes, peace and
It's
order.
an understanding of the criminals issue that's different from the others because of his perspective. Ganun din si Senator Marrojas, dati siyang DTI, na nag-DILG, so you can see their experiences coming into play. As for the others, you can see naman their yung mga legislation nila. As they studied, as they did their research for the legislation, that knowledge is coming out.
So yan yung pinag-usapan natin ng mga experience doon sa mga candidates. Pero hindi rin nagpahuli yung mga first-time candidates. So we'll talk more about that later on. We will continue this conversation after a short break. We'll check what the audience at the Ateneo de Manila University think about the Senatorial Forum. Stay tuned for that. Keep it here on CNN Philippines. You're watching CNN Philippines special presentation, Senatorial Forum Part 2. Let's head to the Ateneo de Manila University in Quezon City where the forum was held. Our senior correspondent, Ina Andalong, is with some of those who attended the event. Ina?
Hi, Ruth. Well, members of the audience are still exiting the Hyundai Hall as we speak, but I do have here with me 3 people who watched the entire forum earlier. Derek and Godwill are both from the Ateneo de Manila University, and Nathan is from FEU. Again, we're here to ask them about their thoughts on our second senatorial forum. Let's start with Derek. So how did you find the forum? How did you find the candidates who attended and answered our questions today?
Yes, the questions and the answers are straightforward. The format is well formatted. First, they were able to comprehensively touch on issues, political, economic, social technology, socio-cultural, of course, national interest. We are looking forward to more forums like this, perhaps, and also candidates that would also attend to this, because we have seen aspiring leaders, future leaders here who, in the national stage. These are leaders who will be reformists, who would be aspiring for good governance, just like what we are at here is Ateneo. And those we have lot of activities that we're looking forward, like
Okay, let's move naman to si Godwill is a student of social sciences. So how did you find the candidates earlier?
Yes, actually, I really liked how they answered. And being here in this forum matters to me much, especially because I'm a first-time voter. And it's important to me, especially as a diplomacy and international relations student, to be able to really know what's happening in the political climate, especially with all the issues. It's really hot right now. And siguro, if there's one thing I wish, I wish I heard more about climate change, how it's affecting us, about more on China, Philippines as well, and other issues that like contractualization and labor and all that. So
Nathan, si Godwill was mentioning he hoped to hear more about contractualization, climate change, and the Philippines and China's relationship. Ikaw, were there things that you hoped were discussed more during the forum?
Well, I would like to definitely know how would they work with our controversial president, President Duterte. I would like to know, personally for me, some of them we've seen during the yes or no answers. We can see patterns, some people who are very much pro the administration and the other ones who are not. So I'm very interested to know how would they work with our administration.
Was there anyone who stood out for you? Let's start naman with Nathan.
For somebody who's teaching in the International Studies Department, I think that it's very important for our voters to be informed. A lot of the candidates, we can say that they're mostly some of them still has some motherlyhood statements. I'm not really into that. I'm more with somebody who has realistic plans, somebody who's an economist, somebody who's a reformist, and I'm definitely going for Maros. You know, he's not only somebody who has a realistic plans, but I can say that he has really something to show, and you know, he's tried and tested already since it's been there, done that. So I think we have a chance this time again. So.
Nathan says na impress siya clearly kay former Secretary Mar Rojas. Ikaw, Godwill, was there anyone who stood out for you?
Actually, not one, but three. There's Nery Colmenares because of his decades-long politics on the ground. He's working with the masses. There's Sam Gutok because she's also been working in Bangsamoro, and yet I feel she can bring more, and I can see the promise in her. And there's also Florian Hilbay because of his strong conviction, especially against federalism, on other issues that really matter to the Filipino people. So I hope they do. The three of them win in the elections.
Ikaw, Derek, how important, you were talking about, sabi mo kanina, you hope to see more of these forums. How does these types of venues affect talaga your decision come election day?
Yes, we can see the outlook of each personalities on how they would deliver, on how they would speak their mind, at the same time, on how they would be able to really give in to what is expected from them, not only during the election, but what they can deliver when it comes to good governance for them, on how they will decide on political issues, on how they will decide on how we, the Filipino people, are going to vote for them. We have to get what is needed from them. Straightforward answers, straightforward questions, at the same time, yung sabi nga nila, no motherhood statement na whatever that comes in their mind, ibigay.
Thank you very much, you gentlemen. Ruth, no, we heard some tips na rin for candidates perhaps in the next forum. They're saying sana less motherhood statements. And of course, we can't avoid that, not all questions could be asked. Clearly, some of them want other issues discussed. And perhaps, as our hosts announced earlier, we will be having another forum with more senatorial candidates come April. Ruth?
Ina Andalong there reporting from the Ateneo in Quezon City. Mar Rojas and Rafi Alunan propose solutions to solve the country's drug problem. Let's listen to this.
Well, unang-una, sa demand side, no? Yung paggabay ng mga magulang sa kanilang mga anak, yung pagiging cool ng malinis at hindi durugista. Yung mga para humupa yung desire for many of our young na lumahok sa drugs para lamang makasama sila. Doon naman po sa mga lulong na they're already addicted to the drugs, then of course, we need rehabilitation centers at mga doktor at mga dalubhasa para matulungan sila. On the law enforcement side, napapansin natin lahat na yung mga malalaki, yung mga nag-i-import nitong mga toneladang mga drugs na ito or yung mga materyales na sa paggawa ng drugs ay hindi naaresto. Lahat ng mga naaresto nakatsinelas. Lahat ng mga naaresto mahihirap. Lahat ng mga naaresto ay yung mga low-level criminals. No? Saan yung mga malalaki? Hindi naman dumadating. Yung 1 gramo na dumadating sa barangay, nagmumula yan sa tonelada sa mga laboratories na ginagawa. Nasaan yan? Ako, susuportahan ko ang paggamit ng mga intelligence funds para alamin kung nasaan itong mga laboratories na ito, para alamin kung sino itong mga drug funders na ito, itong mga kapitalista sa drug. Para sa akin, yan ang sagot dyan.
6 of the 7 senatorial aspirants are against the reimposition of the death penalty for drug-related crimes. Here are their positions.
Do you support reimposing the death penalty for drug-related crimes? Yes or no? No. Yes for Secretary Alunan, no.
And no for everyone else.
No for everybody else. Drug-related crimes.
We'll have more highlights of the senatorial forum when we return. Keep it here on CNN Philippines. You're watching CNN Philippines special presentation, Senatorial Forum Part 2. 2 candidates oppose the idea of giving Congress the power to compel President Rodrigo Duterte to make his medical records public. Here's that yes or no segment.
Should Congress compel President Duterte to make his medical records public, whether or not it is a serious illness, as the Constitution says. Yes or no?
Yes, yes.
Everybody, oh, okay. No from Rafi Alunan and Harry Roque.
Senatorial candidates Nery Colmenares, Erin Tañada, and Samira Gutok weighed in on the country's traffic problem. Let's listen to their proposed solutions.
Una, mass public transport supported ng gobyerno, katulad ng maraming bansa sa mundo. Pangalawa, doon naman may korupsyon sa traffic po. Napakasabi nila, pag naglagay ka, makakalusot ka. Yun ang nangyayari kaya may disorders sa streets. Maliban sa punto na kulang na talaga ang kalsada at hindi yan supported sa ngayon. Third, long term po, dapat ma-decongest ang Metro Manila. Dapat po mayroong economic and industrialization programs sa countrysides. Dapat po hindi dito nakikita ang lahat. Sentro na siya ng gobyerno, sentro ng trabaho at business. Dapat po spread yan sa countrysides.
Simple lang ang naiisip po natin, bawasan po natin ang number of buses that go through EDSA. Kung pwede lang nga, isang bus company lang po ang mag-operate sa EDSA. Nakikita na po natin yung point-to-point, gumagana, ipalaganap po natin sa EDSA yan. At kung makikita po ng taong bayan na on time dumadating ang mga bus, gagaan po ang traffic at sila mismo ang sasakay sa mga bus. Pwedeng solusyon long term. Bakit pumupunta sa Metro Manila ang taong bayan? Dahil mataas ang sweldo dito. Kailangan po natin tignan ang minimum wage po natin. Kung kailangan magkaroon ng isang minimum wage sa buong Pilipinas, yun po ang magdi-disperse ng mga tao sa mga probinsya.
Many of us are flying in Metro Manila, and I feel also many of the government offices are based in the NCR. The MMDA has to work with regional planning offices on how we can study on cascading opportunities in the provinces. We are going to have to think seriously to transfer some government offices to the provinces as well.
So let's go back to our guests now. Kanina pinag-usapan natin na obviously nag-stand out yung mga experience, no? Like si Alunan and Marrojas. Pero yung in-interview nga natin kanina sa Ateneo, yung in-interview ni Ina, he was saying na nabilib rin siya doon sa mga bago like Hilbay and Samira Gutok and Colmenares. Kayo, anong masasabi niyo doon sa mga considered as newbies?
Actually, nakakabilib nga rin ang kanilang mga sagot. And considering the fact that, some of them have limited experience pagdating sa legislation. Like say, for example, si Ma'am Samira Gutok, although she's a member of the Regional Legislative Assembly, kulang naman siguro yon para makatulong sa kanyang pagtakbo bilang senador ng buong bansa. So, at ganun rin naman si Attorney Hilbay na alam naman natin na wala pang karanasan pagdating sa pag-legislate o pagsasagawa ng batas, pero ginagamit ang kanyang kaalaman sa batas upang magbigay ng mga proposal sa iba-ibang mga problema sa ating bansa. So, overall, makikita mo na alam nila, even though wala silang karanasan o previous experience bilang mga legislators, alam nila yung pinapasukan nilang, gusto nilang pasukan na trabaho. So yun ang nakakatuwa sa kanila.
Ana?
Sa palagay ko kasi nga dahil nangingibabaw sa kanila yung meron talagang pagnanasang makatulong. Pwedeng iba-ibang sektor sila na pinaprioritize. Pero makikita mo naging dati namang ang congressman si Nery Colmenares, dati namang Solicitor General si Hilbay, dati naman ding member si nag-draft ng Bangsamoro, na hindi ka naman, yung makita mong hindi trabaho lang sa kanila, yung mga ginawa nila noon. Meron talagang desire makatulong sa tao. Kaya kahit na kulang sa pero kasi ando doon yung intention to serve. Makikita.
Si Samira has been yung bringing up yung rape jokes, 'di ba? Parang isa sa parang well uploaded ba nung humirit siya na parang we can't take rape jokes from the leadership or from anybody, parang ganun. Sinusulong niya lagi yung women's rights and as a woman candidate, parang paano yung chances niya na pero sa mga survey natin, we have Grace Poe, we have Villar, pero siya kaya yung chances niya dahil medyo hindi siya ganun kakilala, ano?
Kailangan, actually, itong forum na to napakaganda, pero kailangan talaga natin mababato sa tao natin para nga makilala ng lubusan tong mga kandidatong to at mababaho yung issues. Kasi mataas para sa tao natin ang hindi yung rape joke, madali yan. Pero yung data privacy, yung paano aayusin yung sa China, yung sa West Philippine Sea, marami kahit yung pag-address ng inflation, medyo hindi sila, kailangan sa kanila ito mapakita. Maganda to para sa atin kasi alam na natin yung issues, naiintindihan natin yung mga pinag-uusapan nila, pero yung pros and cons ng minimum wage law, pero yung tao natin mataas yung, merong mababa.
Yung debate, medyo mataas yung issues, oo.
Hindi kasalanan ng mga kandidato, hindi kasalanan ng mga nag-organize ng forum, kasi kailangan naman talaga malaman natin ang stand nitong mga kandidatong to sa mga issues na to. Pero kailangan kasi natin turuan ng ating tao, makaintindi. Marami dyan strategic no, na issues na tinalakay. Pati yung sa lowering.
Of the age of
medyo maintindihan pa nila yon pero ano ba yung rights ng bakit 18 years old, bakit kailangan ma-get across sa kanila. Tingin ko magkaka-chance itong ibang mga kandidato na hindi ganun kakilala kapag mas naintindihan ng ating mga mamamayan yung tunay na issues.
Well, if I may add to the discussion about the likelihood of Ma'am Samira Gutok's chances of winning in the senatorial race, I think it's important for her to articulate on an issue that is important to the national, to the public. Kasi yung kanyang alalahanin natin that she hails from Mindanao and yung kanyang pinaglalaban, peace advocacy, Bangsamoro interest, these are regional interests na hindi ma-appreciate ng mga voters coming from other regions. Now, if she's going to articulate her stand on national issues like this one, yung catcalling, tapos yung pang-abuso sa mga kababaihan, I think it's going to help boost her, chances of winning.
And she did mention naman din education.
That's right.
Before.
Education.
Pero yung sa mga ibang issues, nakita natin na parang visible yung parang nandun pa rin yung kung sino yung sumusuporta sa administration, makikita mo pa rin. May mga questions like yung yes or no question natin na yung pag-release ng medical records of the president. You have just Rafi Alunan and Roque saying no, and sila lang din yung nag-no dun sa issue ng is media under threat. Clear yung lines ba ng kanilang affiliation dun sa...
Ang palagay ko yung question ng is media under threat. Pwedeng dahil military man si Rafi Alunan, iba interpretation ng threat. Hindi naman sila inaaresto. Baka ganon. Whereas yung sa iba, sinasampahan ng kaso about SEC, about ganyan. So I think baka ganon, kaya ganon yung sagot. In particular ni former Secretary Rafi Alunan. So, mahirap kasi yung question. Hindi ganun ka...
Kasi hindi mo pa ma-explain.
Hindi ka papag-explain. Hindi ka ipapag-yes or no. Ikaw may sasabihin.
I think valid yung tanong na yon pagdating sa kaso ni former Secretary or spokesperson Harry Roque. Kasi alam naman ng lahat na kahit meron silang di pagkakaunawaan ni Presidente, nakalinya pa rin siya sa administrasyon. Pero tama si Ma'am Ana na pagdating naman sa case ni former DILG Secretary Rafi Alunan, I think it has something to do with his being a former military man.
Pero ano pa yung mga ibang issues na tinalakay natin doon? Kasi they were also asked about yung sa death penalty, and it was Alunan who only said no, yes doon sa when it comes to drug-related crimes and ano, 'di ba? So issue
That came as a surprise to me kasi sabi ko dapat kung meron mag-oppose dito si former spokesperson Harry Roque kasi of course he's identified with the administration and that issue is very much part of the present administration. Tapos nagulat ako, si former DILG Secretary Alunan pa ang nag-iba, oo.
I think ano rin yan eh. It's still kasi ang broad ng drug-related crimes. Kasi nga ang baka iniisip niya, drug-related ang drug use eh. Iba pa yun sa yung sindikato dapat na sinasabi naman eh. I think iba mag-isip si Secretary Alunan talaga because of his military. So he might want to make a distinction between yung big-time syndicates and yung drug user.
Okay. Pag-usapan pa natin yung ibang highlights ng ating forum. You're still watching CNN Philippines Special Presentation, Senatorial Forum Part 2. How do the candidates view the newly ratified Bangsamoro Organic Law and martial law in Mindanao? That's up next. Stay tuned. Welcome back. 6 of the 7 candidates believe the Bangsamoro Organic Law will bring long-lasting peace in Mindanao. Here's another yes or no portion.
Do you believe that the Bangsamoro Organic Law will help establish long-lasting peace and uplift the lives of our fellow Filipinos in Mindanao? Yes or no? Different answer
No
this
from
time
Mary
around.
Colmenares. Yes from everybody else.
Colmenares, Roque, and Tanyada believe it's high time to adapt a national minimum wage in the country. Here's their explanation.
Dapat pantay ang sahod sa buong bansa. Bakit? Ang presyo ba dito ng kung anong bilihin dyan sa SM North o sa Ayala, magkaiba sa presyo ng SM North o Ayala sa ibang probinsya? Mataas pa nga minsan ang gasolina doon. The inflation rate in many regions are practically higher, if not the same, ng NCR. So bakit mas mataas ang sahod sa NCR, mababa ang sa probinsya?
Ang importante po, malaman natin kung anong tamang minimum wage na hindi naman po makakaapekto doon sa mga namumuhunan at ang importante rin po, siguraduhin natin na yung inflation o yung pagtaas ng presyo ay pantay-pantay sa buong Pilipinas.
Importanteng tignan po natin kung makatarungan pa ba ang paggamit ng Regional Wage Board sa pagtakta ng minimum wage. Sa tingin ko po, hindi na makatarungan yan at kailangan po natin buksan ang pag-uusap tungkol dito para mahanap po natin ang disenteng sweldo para sa lahat.
All the 7 senatorial candidates featured in the CNN Philippines Forum support divorce. Let's watch this yes or no segment.
Should divorce be legal on grounds of abuse or irreconcilable differences? Yes or no? Yes for everyone.
Unanimous!
Okay, so yung last na lang natin na tanong sa ating guests. What were the issues na siguro na-miss or issues na sana mas napag-usapan pa doon sa forum that you would have wanted?
Well, sana napag-usapan ng yung tungkol sa charter change at saka federalism. Kasi parang pahapyaw lang na nasabi to ng ilan sa mga candidates. Pero in the coming, right after the midterm elections, of course, our senators, whoever is going to win among them, will definitely be involved. We'll have to tackle the issues on charter change as well as federalism. So, sayang kasi hindi natin nakita kung ano at narinig ko ano ang kanilang mga posisyon patungkol sa federalism and charter change.
Charter change, okay. Ana?
Hindi ko alam kung medyo natatamaan kanina pero hindi ko rin alam paano i-phrase. Pero ang concern akin lang naman to, para sa akin dapat ma-address yung paano maiiwasan itong mga, yung parang hindi na na-uphold ang law. We have this quo warranto. We have this double jeopardy.
Yeah.
Paano yun? Paano maiiwasan yun? Hindi ko alam kung somehow natatamaan ng sinasabi ni Secretary Alunan na we have to fix the corrupt
Justice.
system.
More of siguro yung rule of law, parang gano'n.
Medyo, general yung kasi is given only 1 hour and 1 minute 30 seconds and hindi pa direct. Pero sa akin, napaka-crucial nun na issue, pero mataas. Hindi na naman kaya ng tao natin. Kailangan na naman i-explain sa
Pero like yung sinasabi mong mababang issues, like ano pang mga issues yon? Yung presyo nga ng mga bilihin, di ba? Natakal naman yung kanina.
Naman
Traffic, medyo.
Pay, natakal, mga concern nila yon. I guess indirectly natakal na rin ng poverty. May mga nagsasabi about graft and corruption in specific agencies. Specific agencies. So I think natakal naman yung hinahanap ng ating tao. Natakal din yung dapat tinitignan ng ating tao. Pero sana mapakita sa ating tao na vital din itong issues na to.
May dagdag ko lang. Tama yun, maraming oras ang naibigay sa isyong pang-ekonomiya, pang-edukasyon, yung mga basic services, ireforma yung justice system. Sana lang, since some of them mentioned specific proposals, I just hope na they were given more time to articulate, to explain yung mga specific proposals. Nakaka-curious yung ilan sa mga ito, katulad nung 4Ps ni Attorney Hilbay.
Ano niya yun? Slogan niya yun eh. Slogan yun.
So, ganun. At sana rin, they would be given opportunity to interact with one another.
Okay, sige. We will keep that in mind para sa susunod pag-aralan natin if that's possible. Thank you very much to our guests. This has been CNN Philippines special presentation, The Filipino Votes, the Senatorial Forum Part 2. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ruth Cabal.